you can get me anything decent, I'll take 8%, and then I can sell it at 9, get a 1% override. It's just getting these guys over the hump, because what ends up happening is they wait long enough and we find them an 11% deal with a 12% note rate. Or they do the whole note at 12%.
But how much did they lose between 9 and 12 for the months that they waited?
Yeah. I think we should definitely talk about that.
They lost more money. If they would have placed the money sooner, at the end of the year, they would have more cash in their bank account. But they don't see it that way.
They don't see it that way. No, no, I want 12% and I want a self-service, because that's what I get.
Yes.
Well,
and these are the guys.
Okay, it's that lag time.
Yeah.
That's I mean, you have to just kind of show them on paper.
Yeah.
Just go, let's take a year.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, you're not the only person they're dealing with, right? They must be dealing with others.
They're dealing with others, but no one has product right now.
That's right.
Those of us in private money lending right now, we're eating each other's lunch, trying to find product and undercutting our pricing and offering point reductions to good borrowers. You know, I mean, now it's harder than ever to even get 3 points net to me.
Well,
now I'm doing deals for 2 points.
Well, see, I'm refinancing, like Lighthouse. Right now we're at 10.25%.
Yeah.
And I just finished a tax return, and our NOI before interest and depreciation is 300 and something thousand. And so we would be at the rates the bank is talking about, roughly 6%. We'd be at like 1.75 debt service coverage ratio.
So who are you talking to, and what are they telling you in terms of what note rate they think they might be?
Well, actually, Sonoma Bank tells me they can get me under 5%.
So you're talking to the banks. You're hoping you're bank financeable finally.
Well, or SBA through the bank. Either way.
But see, that's the thing.
But see, the thing is, when you I have to jump through a lot of hoops.
Because even private money, if I could get you a 9% rate and pay my investors 8 and service it and get a 100 basis point spread, and then do it for whatever less than market points.
I mean, it's still 9. Yeah. I mean, I'm at 10.5 now.
But see, now do you see the dynamic? You see this right here is the divide. You're going like, geez, my options are like 6.
Yeah.
And I got to squeeze a long way to get to the point where I want to pay 9, and the investors are on the other side of it, going like, man, I'm not squeezing down to 9. I want 11.
Yeah.
And there's other options.
But how many $3 million deals do you have though, too? I mean, because you deal. Yeah, right. See, I mean, this could be one big pop, because and the thing is, our income is going like this because our long-term. We just finished all these long-term pads.
A $3 million deal. If I could get 25 basis points servicing, and I can get the lender to go to 8% or 8.25, and we're talking 8.5. Maybe we're finally in an area. Again, I mean, the difference. It's, do I jump through all of these hoops and take the next 90 to 120 days, and I still don't know that I'm going to get that SBA loan. And the slightest little hiccup in any of my paperwork, and they're going to say no. Or if I've got a guy and I can talk to my Mill Valley guy who's sitting on 15 million and go, look, I can get you a rock solid first lien position that'll pay you 8% all day long for X number of years, and I don't know. I don't think I could get them in the 7s, but you never know.
It's a good deal for them.
Well, the thing is, the appraisal before we did all this work was 11 million. And what we're trying to do is get about 3.5 million.
Is it it's first lien, right?
Yeah, first lien, 3.5 million.
So you're at 40% or less LTV.
Yeah, and that's much less because.
Yeah. Because that was before you did the work.
That was before we did the work, and we were getting the permit for the marina, which we're not going to spend the money for, but we can just partner with someone that has.
Well, and the way I look at it is it's 11 before you did all the work. Okay. Forget about all that. We're at the bottom of the market. Let's just say it's worth 10.
Yeah.
3.5 is 35% financing.
Yeah.
So that's a conversation I'd be willing to have with this guy. I mean, he may say no, but again, if he's sitting on all this capital, and what's his realistic likelihood of placing that this year? If he just has to keep waiting around.
This is where the demand is.
Yeah.
People, the lenders are thinking the demand is in the 12 or 11% notes. The demand for the cash is in the private lenders that can do the financing at 7.5 to 8.5%. Because I could absorb right now, we're looking at probably 7 million that we could absorb right now at about 40 to 50% LTV if we could find a lender that would be in that price bracket. And we're going to find one. I just don't know that it's going to be private money. It's probably going to be.
I mean, I should talk to you also about some of my existing clients, but they don't have the 5 million though. But of course, they're more of the 100,000. So that's a different story. But I don't know if you want to talk, a little more serious about this, because I'm going down the route with them. And so far, the bank, they were saying they were waiting for my tax return. I just finished it, like literally Monday.
Well, I think it's a conversation worth having with Bob's his name, Mill Valley guy. I mean, once you're introduced to him, you'll know who he is. It's he's not new to private money. He was his own private lender for many years when everybody was doing their own private lending and having the title company do the note deed of trust, which only a fool would do nowadays.
Yeah.
But now he has me doing all of his documentation, so he'll call me and go, oh yeah, I just met this guy and I'm going to make him a loan. And actually, now that I think about it, I think he actually has me doing a loan where, and I'm just thinking, you idiot, or you not idiot, you bastard. Because he's going to have me paper a loan that he agreed to do to a guy for like something in the, I think it's in the high sevens.
And after
it's like
you've been asking him to do
right,
a deal.
right after I like gave up a point
Yeah.
and gave him this cherry deal,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
so I need to I need to do a better job of selling him on why he needs to like seriously look at something, look at you and look at who's behind it.
Yep.
Yep.
The quality and character
Yep.
of the borrower, the collateral, the LTV, and
Well, let's put it this way.
how do you get all that money to work?
We've had this loan since December. Oh man, you're not supposed to see that. That's a surprise. There is something.
Note already?
I do. Here, this is the note.
Okay.
Oh.
I'm supposed to surprise you with it.
Okay.
This makes for good television.
Just
Some good blog stuff there. I didn't get a chance to read it.
I did find a couple, yeah.
I mean, we've been
The
paying.
numbers are looking good. January numbers are good.
I mean, get this.
Sales are up.
We've been paying 10.5%, which is $26,250 a month. Never been late, and we've done that since December '09.
See, that right there is just so unbelievable. So you've already weathered the storm.
Yeah.
I mean, if anybody thinks we're going into bad times again, then you might as well be just buy gold,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
shut up and leave me alone.
Oh, well, I mean, the things that are exciting now are the fact that we've just finished all these long-term pads, and now we're getting, it's almost turning into a multiple part.
Are they concrete pads?
They're compacted.
Oh, good, because I
gravel.
didn't think you could pour concrete
Yeah.
in the Dell. They're real stiff.
Compacted, but they each have their own.
So it's like the compact rock type of thing.
Exactly.
You've got the plugins
Yep.
and all the
Yeah,
goodies.
yeah, so they'll pay all their own.
50
utility.
amp and
50, exactly.
Sweet. All
Yeah,
right.
that's it. Yeah.
We used to own mobile home parks or
Yeah,
RV
yeah,
parks,
yeah.
so we know what the thing is. We had the old 15, 20, maybe 30 amp hookups.
Yeah,
we updated them to
now
50.
50. Well, now also there's a guy who is taking one of the really nice park model cabin type things.
Yeah.
And it's not costing
Park
us
models
anything.
are great.
Yeah. Oh, these
So
are the
sweet.
upscale ones.
Right. People
Okay.
love.
Well,
those.
here, get this. Tell me if you like this idea. What he does, he's going to take a brand new one, build it, put it on our property. We don't pay anything.
Right. And then he sells them.
He sells
And
it.
you get a spiff.
Well, I don't know if we get a spiff from that,
Should.
but the spiff we get,
Commission.
is the person now we have a new renter.
Right. So you get a long-term.
A long-term
commitment.
rental, and upscales the park because it starts looking nicer.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, we bought a park where we converted all the old mobile homes into park models too.
Oh,
Which
where was that?
great. It was actually Arizona.
Oh.
It was the Black Rock RV Park, and so we got a license to sell park models. We had a guy on site selling
Yes.
it, and it was like 150 units, and we ended up selling it before we finished out. Market was starting to turn, and we needed to liquidate assets, so we sold it like 04. But
Think about that. We're only charging right now $375 a month. Now, for those, we probably charge like $500 a month. But
Yeah.
think about it. For people who've lost their houses,
Yeah.
I mean, that's cheap. And
That's cheap.
they get to have a swimming pool, a clubhouse, and the whole shebang.
I want to live in the Delta. Oh, I'm really loud.
Yeah,
You
I can
know-
even hear. Testing. Is there a speaker in here somewhere or something? Where's that coming from?
You know, it's strange. Oh, holy smokes! It's okay right here.
You're like blowing your ears out there.
I know it's fake. I know mine was. Oh, okay.
Hello.
Testing.
Oh, no.
Now I
yeah,
can hardly hear me.
Yeah, right. Go back
Okay.
up a little bit.
Okay, how's that?
That sounds a little.
Well, maybe just a tad
I was
louder.
gonna say a little hot,
Yeah,
right?
it's nice. It's nice to be hot, not too quiet.
That's true.
Yeah.
Everyone's voices is fine.
Yeah, mine seems to be pretty good. What do you guys think?
I can still
Seems
use a little more
pretty good?
feedback on the on that side. Yeah, that's
Testing,
good. Perfect.
testing,
Okay,
testing.
good.
I mean, nobody's sick or anything,
That's
so.
me.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we're
Nobody's
good.
sick that I know.
Yeah, and I think we're fine
Hello.
over here. too.
Hello.
Hello.
We gotta do the old Three Stooges.
Hey, there's a new Three Stooges movie coming out, by the way.
Really?
We'll have to do a Three Stooges Q&A. If you know. Today's theme is the Three Stooges.
Hello.
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 You're late.
I forgot I was a stooge.
You're never a stooge, Brian. Never a stooge. It's actually kind of
Gosh, back with sports. Another topic I have absolutely no knowledge of.
You don't know the Three Stooges?
No, I'm not a Three Stooges fan. I guess I've missed out.
Are you insinuating? No, just dancing.
Okay, so we're gonna talk topics for the first couple of sessions. So what?
Yeah. Brian's supposed to be here at 1:30.
Okay,
so.
perfect. So we've got. So I know I didn't actually carefully read. I just saw that the Marin IJ headline this week was Marin sales and prices are up. So I mean, and again, it supports all the anecdotal information. So I think we can talk about the fact that. And I like the idea of talking up the economy too. I mean,
Yeah, really,
all last year was like,
yeah.
oh, they're predicting another 10% decline in prices and blah blah blah. blah.
But also and remember, not everyone's Marin, so
yeah.
we can kind of make it a little.
Well, no, and I'm pretty sure the Bay Area will track with that. This was, the Marin IJ. I didn't get to see the Chronicle. The Chronicle usually has the Bay Area stats. The Marin IJ always presents Marin stats. So I'm assuming. That might be an ass out of you. I mean, I'm pretty sure the Bay Area stats.
Well, what happens when you say I presume? Then you make a
presume instead of assume.
Yeah. Then you make a.
That makes a Prius out of you.
There you go. I like that. Okay, look at my hat. It's
Videozog.
It is the most comfortable hat I've ever had. Seriously.
Good.
It's very good.
That's
And I'm not a big
important.
hat.
And it's not too sometimes the shape of them is kind of weird, or it makes your head look weird, or the bill is too big.
Yeah,
And it's
exactly.
a perfect size.
See, thank you.
I want one of those.
We were just talking about that.
Yeah, you got
Okay.
it. And I need a white one too.
You got it.
Okay.
All right.
Next time.
We just put it in order.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not a hat wearer,
Right.
so.
I generally don't like wearing hats, but this one actually is pretty good.
All right.
Make you bald.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Put that there?
Just the guys I know who wear them every day are bald. Are they wearing them because they're bald, or are
I
they
think
bald
that's
because
what
they
it
wear
is.
them every day?
Yeah, they just don't want to be seen.
Yeah.
So
Or-
did you see this? I saw on Blog Shelf that LPS reported that the percentage of loans delinquent declined. The percentage of loans in foreclosure increased slightly. So doesn't that tell you that we're getting close to the end?
Yeah.
Once the foreclosures pick up and the delinquencies behind them start
Yeah.
to decline, I think that's a pretty good sign.
What about all that shadow inventory though, and all the leaking of the millions of houses?
That's the delinquencies. So if the delinquencies are declining, that means that
they have
future
all
shadow
that.
inventory is going to decline.
Well, at some point, but don't they still
Yeah.
have a lot of inventory?
They got a lot of
to feed in?
inventory. They'll get through it.
So are we doing our show before we do our show?
Yeah, that's another one.
I know.
You're
Yeah,
recording all this,
hey,
right?
wait a minute.
It's over, I'm leaving.
Shows, oh, he's recorded all this, yes.
Oh, good.
This will be good. This will be good to feed in, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's perfect.
Yeah, I figure I'll use
There's a
that
link, an
one.
article. Yeah. it'll be-
Yeah, that was one, and then there was another one in here that I had on existing home inventory is also declined.
I'll just do the shout out about the. Now, when's this? Is this tomorrow or?
No.
We're a week ahead of ourselves. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I have in case we need more time, I had 10 golden rules for writing the perfect email, but it sounds like we won't need the extra time.
We usually have way too much to BS about, right? Seems
Well,
like
we
feel-
just
try to
feel
try
free
to
to whip
shut us
that
up
out
is
because actually
usually-
I can talk very intelligently about email communications because I continue on a daily basis in my business to see, incorrect. I have to coach my guys on how not to communicate via email with each other because everybody thinks that they're talking angrily. People misread emails all the time and they tend to imply shortness, curseness.
Rather than just expediency.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
it probably doesn't help when I put it, with the pound sign, the @ sign,
Yeah.
the exclamation point.
Yeah. Anyway.
Okay, you guys ready?
Yep.
Yep.
All right. You ready, boss?
We're rolling.
Okay, don't forget I got my little sticker
I
here.
know.
Okay, let's do our 5 seconds of. Welcome. You're listening to the Best of Investing on News Talk 910, sponsored by Pacific Trade Exchange. And Brian Capehart will be here in a couple of segments. So, first of all, let's just introduce ourselves. I'm Edward Brown, and I'm here with Mark Hahn, who is the president of Pacific Private Money, California's fastest growing private lender, and Brian Berg of Praxis Capital. And for those of you listening for the first time, here is our format. A few guys sitting around a bar having drinks without the drinks. And what is our what is our show about? It's about real estate, the financial markets, and other economic business of the day. And let's see, what do we got here? Okay, our phone number is 888-912-1190. Write that number down, 888-912-1190, because you're going to use that number to answer the trivia questions for 3 vacations given away during each commercial break. That's right, we're giving away 9 vacations during this show. The vacations are sponsored by Lighthouse Resort and Marina, which is located 1 hour northeast of San Francisco, and the vacations are free. Their only request is a $75 cleaning fee to cover housekeeping expenses. Their website is lighthouse4fun.com. You can reach them at 916-777-5511. Today's trivia theme is board games. I'll ask the question, and you guys are going to name the board game.
You ever get bored playing games?
Not these kind of board games. Okay, our website is bestofinvesting.com. Check us out on Facebook and YouTube by typing Best of Investing Radio Show, and in the future you can always go on to a website called dar.fm and record this show. Quick reminder again, World Wraps in Corte Madera and Santa Clara is giving our listeners a free smoothie with purchase of a wrapper bowl. If you mention this show, The Best of Investing, go there for lunch today. They just added this awesome Polynesian pulled pork wrap. I tried it. It is phenomenal.
Sounds great.
It's awesome. Don't forget to mention Best of Investing for your free smoothie. And since our guest is not here yet, Brian and Mark, tell us what are going on in real estate, since there's 2 of you.
I guess, yeah, there's a lot going on then.
Yeah.
Well, you know, Mark, I just read today that the LPS came out with their latest delinquency and foreclosure numbers, and they're reporting that loans that are delinquent have declined from in January from December, but that the percentage of loans in foreclosure actually increased a little bit. And as I think about these numbers, it seems to me that as the foreclosure numbers increase and the delinquencies that are your future foreclosures are decreasing, don't you think that that spells us getting close to the third quarter of the foreclosure crisis?
I agree, Brian. I think clearly the numbers are indicating, light at the end of the tunnel. We're looking at a lot of decreasing rates in terms of new incoming delinquencies. Now, of course, the first question will be, well, what about all that shadow inventory? And yes, of course, we've got a lot of inventory to work through. And the good news is the banks are starting to process that and are putting that inventory back out onto the market through both the auction sales and through REOs. And I think what we've seen, the evidence in the last couple of years, is there's just not going to be a tsunami. We're going to see that inventory trickled out over time, and we've seen predictions of anywhere from 2 to 5 years in terms of how long are we going to see this market where we have kind of a steady supply of foreclosure or distressed properties. I think I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think the banks have figured out a way to stem what we've seen several years worth of deflation. And gosh, some of the numbers that came out this week also indicate that sales are up volume year over year,
yep,
and prices
right,
are up slightly year over year. And so I think as much as most of us in the if not all of us in the real estate industry have been hoping, praying that, gosh, will 2012 be the year we hoped 2011 would, I do think the indicators are that we are looking at a market where we've largely hit the bottom, and that we're going to see kind of a stabilization, which is really what we
remember
need.
the government not too long ago announced that they were going to keep interest rates down through 2014, right?
Yeah,
So
Stability is the name of the game. I mean, that's what the
jobs.
public, that's what the consumers need to see. That's what real estate investors need to see, is stability in the marketplace. A year ago at this time, what were we talking about at this show? We were talking about all the articles that said that were predicting anywhere from 5 to 10% further declines in prices. You're not seeing those articles anymore. That is no longer the prediction.
Yeah, the decline already happened, so now that's over with.
So I think we're on the upside.
And the construction industry seems to be picking up. I mean, you call contractors now, they're getting a little bit busier.
They are, and what else is happening is Goldman Sachs just reported recently that the inventory of existing homes on the market declined by 21% in the year to January. So not only are the delinquencies starting to decrease, foreclosures are pushing through, but the inventory on the market is beginning to decrease. And we're seeing that in the real world every day as we're out buying and selling property all the time. and we're noticing that the active available inventory is also on the decline.
Now, how much of that has to do with people deciding, you know what, maybe the market's going up for a bit, maybe we shouldn't sell?
Some of that maybe, but when you think about it, what percentage of transactions are normal sales versus foreclosures? And they've been running in the 50-50 range, 60-40 one way, then it'll be 50-50. So the 50% that don't have to sell, that could be impacted by some optimism and wanting to hold out and wait. But the 50% that comprises the foreclosures, they're going to put those on the market regardless. They're not going to hold them off. What they're going to do is they might hold off the foreclosure in hopes that they're going to get a better disposition down the line. But once they've foreclosed on that house, they're not going to just let it sit there in their inventory.
And I'd like to think that the banks, that there are some people with intelligence monitoring these numbers on the bank side, those that are in control of how much distressed inventory they put back on the market. We all know they've got a lot of inventory, and I'd like to think that given the numbers we're seeing, where we're seeing a tightening of supply, now's the time for them to start releasing and opening up, not the floodgates, but just open the spigot up a little bit, get some of that product on the market, and allow the investors to come in and reposition that real estate.
Yes, I think that's exactly what's going to happen, and they have a little bit more confidence in doing so now too, not only because of the market, but also because of the recent settlement between the major lenders and the Attorney General, that kind of now they've got this the question of is their paperwork in order and have they followed the proper procedures. They're getting that behind them. They've hired their staff, they've staffed up to process the foreclosures, they've trained people, and they're getting to that point now where they're going to start releasing this product, but it's going to happen in a controlled and disciplined manner, and that's how it's going to keep the market stable.
So based on that, wouldn't you say that prices probably won't go up, they're just going to stabilize?
I think they're going to stabilize in the short term, but I think they're going to go up substantially over the 3 to 7 year time period. And nobody's building anything to add to the physical supply of inventory. So the only thing you have going on right now is the foreclosures. And also, that's always a couple years behind. It is, yeah. And a couple of years is probably an optimistic statement, because in California, how long does it take to actually get a project from raw dirt to sticks in the air? That can take years.
It took me 9 months just to get a permit to put a birdhouse.
Yeah, right.
And that was in the ground. That was to hang it from a tree.
Well, Brian, when you talk about prices going up, let's look at that a little bit, because we've talked about this in past shows. There are markets where homes are trading at significantly below replacement cost.
Yes.
And that's where I see the biggest opportunity for price gains. I don't think I would even call that appreciation. It's really prices going back up to normalcy, because we're in an abnormal market.
Well, you won't get any building done because, again,
it's below replacement cost.
Exactly.
There's no motivation.
Now that doesn't mean prices, say in Marin and San Francisco, are set to follow that same pattern, because we haven't seen such a huge price decline, but there's been such a pendulum swing in the opposite direction in certain communities in Northern California and the Bay Area that it's just not sustainable for homes to trade at the price per square foot that they're trading at.
Well, I call it a return to equilibrium. And when you look at median house price in California is in the mid 100s range, 140, 160, somewhere in that range.
Is that what it is now?
It's gotten that low. In Sacramento, you can buy houses for under $100,000. But the cost to build a house is over $300,000 when you factor in the cost to put in streets, curb gutter, sidewalks, permits. A permit can cost you 70 to 80 grand.
Yeah.
So and we're buying houses as rentals for as low as $80,000 in cities where it costs you $70,000 to get a building permit. You can't tell me somebody's going to come into that town and build more houses under those conditions.
Do you think that maybe the counties will wake up, like in Nevada? I remember for commercial, they started lowering the fees.
Some of them have. They've actually,
for residential?
Several counties have been lowering fees with the idea that they would entice builders to apply for.
But others are saying, geez, we're not collecting enough revenue. We need to raise the fees.
Well, but that's so stupid. They go back to what I said about
paying it.
I mean, was it Ford that was having problems? They say, okay, well here, Ford, you know what? I can solve all your problems. All you have to do is sell one car. Just sell it for $2 trillion. But all you have to do is sell one car.
Right, exactly.
I mean, it's really stupid. Okay, we're going to cut to our first commercial break, and here's the first trivia question. Again, remember the theme is board games. Board games. Okay, what board game involves solving a murder using weapons such as a candlestick or a rope? The first 3 callers with the correct answer win a free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Their website is Lighthouse, the number 4fun.com. Call 888-912-1190. That's 888-912-1190 to answer this question. What board game involves solving a murder using weapons such as a candlestick or a rope? 888-912-1190. Make sure to include your name, address, email address, and phone number, and make sure that you spell out your email address. And we will be right back.
Headphones off.
What's that?
Oh, I said headphones
Yeah,
off.
that's a good.
That's one of the few board games I
I just
actually
want a
like.
clue.
Would you say you don't have a clue?
I don't have a clue. Like, can somebody give me a clue?
Okay, well, that's a good. Well, we're gonna do that.
I got a clue on that.
See?
So it's interesting. It wouldn't getting back to the whole that price like a rubber band bouncing back in certain neighborhoods to at least replacement cost. There are neighborhoods, and I keep thinking of this one neighborhood in Sacramento where I've done a lot of loans in. And the initial bottom in this neighborhood, and this is like North Highlands, Del Paso Heights, there's a whole zip code there of thousands of homes that had its initial bottom in 2009. And I know a lot of guys that went in there and bought.
Mm-hmm.
And then it actually started to go up in 10, and then we had this double dip. So in 11, it went back down, and even in some cases went lower again in 9.
Yep.
But and everyone's going, woe is me, and I'm even in some, I put some people in loans where I can't get them back out anymore right now because the properties aren't appraising. But, it wouldn't surprise me that in a very short period of time that those homes would suddenly go from, they were trading, in the 100s, then they went down to the 50s in 09, then they went up to the 70s, then they went back to the 50s, and in some cases the 40s last year. It wouldn't surprise me to see those properties going right back up to 75, 80, maybe even 100,000, because again, these are 1,000 square foot, 2-1, 3-1 homes.
And it costs you $200,000 or more to build it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So there's just no way that those prices ultimately aren't going to bounce back, and it may happen relatively quick, because once the new inventory of distressed properties start to dwindle, boom.
What about a double dip recession?
No, I think we're beyond that.
I think we're past. Well, we had our double dip in housing already.
Yeah, we had the double dip in housing.
So
Yes, we
I
did.
think
fourth quarter of 11 was horrible.
If we have a double dip in,
You already have this, right?
in the overall,
I'm ready now.
You ready now?
Yeah.
if we have a double
missed
dip in
it?
the overall economy at
See it.
large, it's just
Yeah.
going to cause further stagnation.
Yeah,
It's not going to cause the prices of housing to drop more than they've already done. I don't think.
I don't think so either. I think we're.
Okay, one. Now I gotta do it slow or
Oh.
fast. 1,
I
2,
think we have a little
3.
stagnation.
Yeah. Oh,
At least
yeah.
it's not
Wait,
stagflation.
Now you have to do
Right.
it twice.
They're gonna have
Oh! Any hair?
Very little. Fortunately, I got that on the
Yeah,
stairs.
okay.
All right.
Okay, you guys.
Water here. I'm ready.
Hold on here. I'm just gonna see if Brian called. Brian Capehart leaving. Let's see. Hold on here.
I just heard I heard the
Yeah, you heard it.
elevator bell ring.
Ding. Oh, brother. We just had to check in him. Something totally
Can you get past me?
Another seat. No, I'll just.
Well, we'll do the second segment, unless he walks in and you want to introduce him in the second segment, we can do that too.
So they're gonna
Is
be
that
three?
him? No.
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 All right.
I just wanted to know.
Any other goodies in there? I see you scrolling through.
I
I wish I
know.
could get that blog shelf. They just, well, I haven't looked.
I'm
Maybe
just
they,
amazed.
I was waiting for them to put it back on
Yeah,
again.
he should be here in 5 minutes. We can be.
I wish there was a way to like trade apps. Is there a way to get it off
We're
your
gonna have to do
iPad
something new,
and
Edward. Can
online,
you
Yes.
can you
Copy.
get outside and then put your head into the window and your nose?
Well,
we can hang you off.
You know what,
We can kind of hang you off the roof.
There are some blue buttons on some of these where for the firemen to punch
Really?
out. Yeah, but these don't open.
Yeah.
And I don't have any scaffolds.
So we're gonna go into email time then?
That would be an excellent
Let's
idea.
do email time. That'll take up a whole segment.
Yeah.
All right, I'm ready.
Ready?
So if he comes in, do I just go? And
Yeah.
sit
You know
down?
what? You could probably just leave it just like that. I don't think.
Or close it a little bit.
Is that fan making too much? You know what? I'm gonna turn off the fan.
I'll get it done.
I don't
Okay.
hear it.
You
I don't hear
have
it.
to climb a mountain to get to it.
Because I don't think it's that. Right now.
that's fine, yeah.
Okay, so that was. Okay, you guys ready?
Yep.
Ready?
Question here. Okay, so when I come back to you, I'll say, Brian, what's the answer? And you're gonna say,
Can you give
I don't
me
have
a
a
clue?
clue.
No clue.
That's right.
All right.
So that sounds like something from a Lucy episode. You know? Lucy. He says, he goes, I don't understand. He goes, I don't get it. Let's just get out of here. He goes, that's right. Okay, here we go. Welcome back to the Best of Investing. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Mark Hunt of Pacific Private Money and Brian Burke of Praxis Capital. When we cut to the first commercial break, we asked this first trivia question, and the theme is board games. What board game involves solving a murder using weapons such as a candlestick or rope? And Professor Plum, what's the answer,
Oh,
Brian?
right, yeah. I never know the answer to any of your sports trivia. Now you throw board games on it, I just don't have a clue.
That's
So-
right. That's exactly the answer.
Really?
Clue.
Oh, how about that?
How about that? Very good. All right. Well, let's get right into email time. Mark, here's an email that we received from a listener. It says, I have heard you mention on the show that you don't do residential loans. Now, the question is why, but you actually do residential, it's just you don't do personal home
We don't do
residence.
owner-occupied residential. So let me just back up a minute. I'm president of Pacific Private Money. We are a private money lender, also known as a hard money lender. And so for those of you out there who've probably heard that term before, ever since the banks really kind of tightened their lending criteria after the mortgage meltdown in 2008, they really stopped making loans to real estate investors for the most part. What they're concentrating on is consumer home loans. So if you want to go out and buy a home today, the rates are fabulous. But if you want to buy rental property, because you believe California homes are on sale and that you can get good rental income for the price you pay, which is true, by the way, or if you want to buy fix and flip because you believe that there are opportunities to buy properties at steep discounts that with a small amount of investment can be put back on the market and resold for a profit, which, by the way, is true, too. It's being done daily in markets all over the Bay Area. You would come to someone like our company, Pacific Private Money, and fill out a loan application. We make between 15 and 20 loans per month to real estate investors. And the reason we don't do consumer home loans is, quite frankly, the government doesn't want us to. What do I mean by that?
Hold on. What does that mean? It seems
Well,
counterintuitive.
after the horses left the stable and the mortgage meltdown, a lot of politicians decided that they were going to make sure that never happened again. So they were going to punish those predatory lenders for making bad loans to people who couldn't afford to pay them. So they passed a whole slew of new laws that essentially don't allow companies, or banks for that matter, to make a loan to people who can't afford to pay them. So, and particularly when it comes to a consumer home loan, a home on your or a loan on your primary residence is governed now by about 20 new laws that weren't there 24 months ago, and they include things like minimum period. For example, we can't do a loan, generally speaking, for less than 7 years, and it can't be higher than a certain interest rate. But more important than that, you have to qualify, full documentation. We have to prove that you can actually afford to make the loan payments, and that's a problem oftentimes in our industry. So, because if you can't qualify, you're going to go to a bank anyway. So you're not going to come to a private money lender.
Let me ask you about the qualification, full doc. Let's say someone shows you a tax return that doesn't seem that they can qualify, but they have other things that they produce that make it look like they can, like bank statements or some other. I mean, I'm guessing that there's maybe a lot of companies out there, a lot of people out there, are in cash businesses. They don't want to report the income, but yet they're somehow able to prove to you that they can document it.
Well, the good news is that there are private lending companies in the Bay Area that are making consumer home loans. So if you can't qualify for a bank loan because you had a foreclosure, but you've got income, there are companies out there. We just happen to focus on a niche of, we serve the real estate investment community. We like rehabbers and flippers and folks looks like that. So that's our niche. There are companies in the last 12 months, and if anyone wanted to know who those are, I'd be happy to refer you to those companies. These are good companies in the Bay Area that will make consumer loans. They're obviously not at bank rates. Now they're going to be anywhere from, I think the lowest I've seen is 7.99 to like maybe 9.99 in that range for a purchase money loan to buy your primary residence if you don't qualify for a bank loan. So there are options out there, but generally speaking, the type of loans that we're looking at Pacific are generally loan applications for people who want to buy fix and flip or buy rental property.
Okay, and before we get into email time for Brian, there was something we talked about before the show that I thought was kind of fascinating, that you have lenders sitting by who have lots and lots of money, but they're not lending it out yet because they're still demanding a high rate, but yet you could potentially place the money for them if they would lower their demands. Why don't you get into that?
There's a phenomenon right now where if you've lent your money out privately before, and listeners to the show, some of you may have heard or be familiar with trustee investing, as it's called. And that basically is where you fund a loan to an individual who's buying real estate or owns real estate. And traditionally, you could get very, very high rates. What I mean by that is, 10, 11, 12% was not unusual. And so we're in this market now where there's a strong demand for capital, but there's a strong demand, and Brian, I know you want to chime in on this, is for lower priced capital. In other words, if I could find lenders willing to allow me to loan their money out at, say, between 6 and 8% safely with a very, very secure loan, I could do a lot more loans to the investment and commercial community.
And those lenders would be able to place their money rather than
more quickly.
More quickly.
So I've got these guys. So I've got these lenders who are used to getting 11 and sometimes 12%, and they're sitting around with their money, earning nothing in a money market account, waiting for me to call them with a funding opportunity, and I'm not, because quite frankly, there's just not that much demand today for 12% money, but there's a tremendous demand for 8, 9,
exactly.
or 10%.
Well, let's say it took 6 months.
Yeah, and how much do you lose?
Yeah, if it takes 6 months, you finally get them 12%,
Yeah.
and it's only, let's say, a 1-year loan, then in theory they really lost they're really getting 6% because it was at 0 for.
Well, here's the other thing too. As you've seen housing prices fall and rents rise, more and more people are beginning to realize the value of owning rental property. And as that happens, and you want to finance that rental property so that you can leverage your investment, you're going to see more and more demand for rental property loans. Now, if you're doing a rental property loan, obviously you want to minimize your interest expenses as much as possible. So there's a huge market developing right now for low-priced but easily funded loans, and private money is a great venue for this. And you could probably place a lot more money in that particular venue if the lenders that were in control of the dollars were willing to accept that. Now, the benefit for them is this. If you're lending at 10% to somebody who's flipping a house, you're doing great, but that's going to pay off in about 6 months. Then you might have to wait 1 month, 2 months, maybe 3 months before the next house flipper comes for you to loan your money again at 12%. So if you had it loaned out for 8 months of the year at 12, what does that have to equal to if you lent it out for the entire year or 2 years or 3 years at a lower interest rate?
Basically the opportunity cost can outweigh if these.
Yeah, you're going to net the same either way.
Or
you can charge a lower rate and still net the
Yeah,
same or more money.
And in theory, if you are able to get lower interest loans out there, theoretically they should be a little bit safer. Theoretically.
Yes.
Well, it is safer because if the borrower has a better ability to afford to make that payment, it is by definition a safer loan. Then you've got the double safety of having protective equity, meaning you're only loaning, let's say, 65% of the value and no more than that on the property. And then you've got the borrower who has income and he's making lower interest payments.
No, but I was thinking about a borrower comes to you and says, listen, I got a slam dunk deal. It's only 18% loan to value. I've got great credit and all that, but for whatever reason I can't go to the bank, maybe speed. And he says, but I've got to.
If you could get me 7%,
exactly.
right? Yeah, and I would say I'd love to, but I'm going to call 15 or 20 investors, and they're going to go, oh, that's just not enough.
Yeah,
And
but
so,
you know what though,
so
we have people in the audience right now who would love to get 7%.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Right, rock solid safe.
Yeah, so Mark, how would people get a hold of you for that?
They would call us at Pacific Private Money at 415-883-2150. That's 415-883-2150. Or go to our website, which is for investors. We have a new website. It's called PacificPrivateInvestments.com. That's plural, PacificPrivateInvestments.com.
And they could always go to Best of Investing
Absolutely.
and catch you there. Brian, email for you we received, which is, have any of your investor clients ever lost money investing with your company? So tell us what your company is.
That's a pretty good question, actually.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people will be interested in that. My company is Praxis Capital. It's Praxis, Praxis Capital. We're a real estate private equity firm. We invest in rental property and buy, fix, and flip real estate here in Northern California. So in answer to your question, Edward, the answer is no. Nobody's ever lost money with our firm, which, you know, in an equity investment, that's what we're doing, is equity investments. The investors in our company actually own a fractional percentage of the real estate, but not directly. They own it through a fund. Now, whenever you own real estate in a fund, you're always subject to the potential of loss, because if the project loses all of its money, investors are at risk. So these are a little bit higher risk investments than a trust deed investment where you have security against the real estate. But we're very conservative and disciplined investors, and we've never hit a loss yet. In fact, I had a 7-year period where even when the market was moving against us, our investors were earning just over 20% return on their money on an annualized basis.
That is amazing.
And to do that in a down market is pretty good. But I mean, one thing that we've got to realize, and just to clarify something I mentioned earlier about median California home prices, statewide the median is $260,000 currently, but in the markets where we're doing our business, our median prices are about $140,000 in some Northern California counties where we're operating. And when you're dealing with property in that price bracket, in that very lowest tier, there's a lot of stability, the risk is a lot lower. You know, we're buying properties for $80,000 to $110,000 that bring in $1,100 to $1,500 a month in rent. So that reduces the risk tremendously, and it's pretty hard to screw that up.
I mean, yeah, you're buying those at like a 7 gross rent multiplier.
Yeah,
That's ridiculous.
as low as 5 actually. As low as 5. Yeah,
and especially with interest rates low. Now you buy yours for all cash, right?
we buy them for all cash.
But you're buying from the auction, right? So you're getting that for the most part?
Yeah, for the most part, we're about 75% auction, about 25% bank owned, and short sales.
All right. And how do people get a hold of you, Brian?
Best way is to go to Praxis Capital's website. It's www.praxcap.com. That's praxcap.com. There's also a link to our website on the show's website, bestofinvesting.com.
All right. We're going to cut to our second commercial break. Here's the trivia question. Again, board games is the theme. What board game reportedly is the most popular game in America? The first 3 callers with the correct answer win a free 3-day 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Their website is lighthouse4fun.com. Call 888-912-1190. That's 888-912-1190 to answer this question. What board game reportedly is the most popular game in America? 888-912-1190, and make sure to include your name, address, and email address, and make sure that you spell your email address for us. And we will be right back.
You know, here's another reason, Mark. So we buy our rental properties all cash.
Yeah.
And then currently we borrow against them after we buy them from a bank.
Oh, right.
Have you done
So you're
that?
leveraging.
Yeah, and when we're borrowing them at 6.5% interest. But here's the catch. When you're borrowing from a bank, you have to personally guarantee all of these loans.
Yes.
Okay, that's not that big of a deal. But what begins to happen is, as you buy more and more and more, and your portfolio grows and grows and grows, you run into a point where the banks say, wait a minute, you've personally guaranteed this many millions of dollars worth of loans. We're not going to accept you as a guarantor anymore.
Yeah.
So the only way that you can grow your portfolio tremendously. You know, like we're looking to grow to $100 million portfolio. You can't personally guarantee $100 million worth of loans.
No.
So you get to that point where you have to seek that non-recourse debt, and we're not the only ones that are seeking to do a strategy such as this. There's a huge market opening up for reasonably priced non-recourse debt against single-family houses for that purpose.
Yeah, when we were doing our deed of trust lending, we had almost secured Prudential, and they were going to lend us anywhere from 4 to 1 to 10 to 1.
So what does that mean?
That means that we would basically show them we had like $10 million in capital, and they were going to lend us anywhere from 40 to 100 million.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
But then the market turned,
And that's
they,
gone away.
They
Yeah.
exited. Now maybe they're back in again.
Well, privately funded loans could be a huge, shovel of coal to the fire of building the real estate market back up.
Yeah.
Because what's going to support the real estate market are the investors buying the rental property.
Oh, absolutely. The
And
investors
what's going to
saving the
support
day.
the investors are investors like yours
Exactly.
who want to fund the debt against that real estate, but do it at a reasonable cost. Because the days of 12% are over. When they were getting 12 on their loans, banks were getting 7, right?
Yeah.
Now
Or
banks
8.
are getting 2 or
Yeah,
banks are getting
prime
3.
Prime was 6%.
Yeah.
Then.
Hey,
it's
there
hard,
he is.
It's hard to yeah. It's
Where
hard.
are you?
Right. It's well, prime plus 5 is kind of the old max.
We're actually
So
you
that
know,
puts you at
private
6
money.
now, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Exactly.
So, but they still want. So they get
still want
spoiled.
12, I know.
They get spoiled.
Okay,
because
so
they
you're
say,
gonna take the
"Well, I
Central
used
Santa
to
Fe
get
exit
12. Well,
and
the banks
come down
used to get
5th
8,
Avenue.
and they don't anymore. The
And
reality
then
is
make
the
a
market
left
has
at
fallen
Court
where the banks
Street,
are now getting
which is
3 and a quarter,
after Lincoln and
4
before
and
A.
4 and a quarter,
And you'll see the
somewhere
big
in
B of
that
A
range.
building. So you make a left
So
and then go
if
immediately
you're
right
double
into
the bank's
the
rate,
B of A parking
and they're
lot.
getting 3
Park
and a
your
half,
car
you're at
and
7.
run up to
If they're
Suite
getting
695.
4, you're at 8. Right? Because when they were getting 6, you were
Suite
getting 12.
695. You'll see Equity Bancorp on the
But
door.
they haven't gotten to that point yet.
No, yeah.
But the longer they sit on the
Okay,
money earning
so
a
you're
quarter
probably about
percent,
8
they start
minutes
going,
away.
Dang, what's going on?
Okay. Good.
How come I can't get
All
my
right.
money out?
Well, hopefully we'll see you soon. Okay. All right. Do you guys mind waiting 8 minutes?
No.
It's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Because he'll be he's between Corte Madera and San Rafael right now, so he'll just be taking the exit. Bada bing, bada boom. That's some good information.
It is.
Let's see. And you'll like Brian. He's very. He's got he's kind of an animated type guy. So if we could, you're gonna have to get him in now.
You can
Yes.
tell your audience why you have a beard, your television audience.
Oh, that's right. Yes. All right. You ready, television audience?
Yeah.
Hello, people in television land. Okay, so the scruffy look is going to be for a while because April 1st, I'm going to be playing Judas Iscariot, the bad guy, in a play at Valley Baptist in church in San Rafael. And the cool thing about it is we are just like the painting of the Last Supper. It's called the Living Last Supper, and each one of us comes to life slowly but surely. In fact, if I brought it up on the computer here, okay. So let me bring this up now, and here we go. All right. I don't know if you can zoom in on that.
Can you move the microphone?
I can move the microphone. Can you get a good zoom?
You can't make it any bigger? My
Well,
zoom
you
is
know,
really small.
actually.
That was last
wait,
year.
Hold on. Let's try this one.
I know the guy on the left.
Yeah, that's.
That's your host, Edward Brown.
That's that. Now that's me. I played Nathaniel 2 years ago. We do this play every 2 years, and I'm trying to bring this thing. Oh, wait, hold on here. Let's see if we get. Ah, there we go. Okay.
Ah, that's
Is that
good.
better? All right. So here I am. There I am, right there. And this time I'm playing this guy, Judas, the bad guy. So if you look at it, that looks pretty darn close to.
Is
what
that the best of the bad guy?
That's the best of the bad guy. The best of investing, the best of the bad guy. And this is actually a real set. I mean, somebody actually painted that set. So if you look at the if you look at the Last Supper painting by Da Vinci, and you look at this, it's pretty close. So we all stay perfectly still. One by one, we get up and go to the mic and basically tell our story. And I love playing the bad guy. Well, I was in a play a few years ago, and in the same play, I had to run back and forth between sets, stage left, stage right. I played a jailer, Herod, Judas, and Satan. You go, listen, might as well just get it all done at
Oh,
once.
you're the villain, aren't you?
I'm the villain. And as the guy in Seinfeld, I'm a very, very bad man.
Very, very bad.
Very, very bad. Oh, yeah, see, I could hear. I could even, didn't realize I could do that.
Where are you?
Oops. There I am, right there.
When are you gonna wear that robe to the show?
I should.
Yeah.
You should.
I should. But you know what? That was hard. You know why? If you look, I'm hunched over, and I'm barefoot across my legs. I took about 6 Advil before that. But Judas, he's got the easiest one. He just kind of has to go like that. And look at this guy. This poor guy over here. Look at this guy, Matthew. He's gonna look this way and put his hands this way. He's gonna keep it up there for an hour. But what we do is when we go to stage left, he gets to slowly put his hands down.
So you have to stay like that the whole time?
Except for when it's your
Wow.
part to do. Yeah. And it's funny because when I played Nathaniel, I was the first guy to do my spiel. And when I'm playing Judas, I'm going to be the last guy.
And this is going to be Easter, April 1st?
No, Palm Sunday. 6 p.m. Sunday, April 1st.
April 1st.
Yeah. It's Palm Sunday.
Okay.
Yeah, Easter's next week. So 6 p.m. San Rafael Valley Baptist. Be there.
Come one, come all.
Come on. Be there or be a trapezoid, as they say.
Who says that?
Oh, I say that. I say that all the time.
Well, because this is best investing. It's the only reason why you're playing Judas is because he gets how many?
30 pieces of silver.
30 pieces of silver?
right.
Is that why?
That's why.
That's all.
Yeah.
Okay.
The best of 30 pieces of silver.
The worst of 30 pieces
Yes,
of silver.
that's true. And I memorized my lines already.
Really?
I
Good for
memorized
you.
my lines. Yeah.
Did you really?
Yeah. He doesn't have as much as some of the other ones, but it's still pretty good.
Boy, you had a head start.
I'm tempted to do it now, but
Go ahead.
really, should I do it?
Sure.
Okay. So
Always.
I come on the stage and say, okay. All the others came from Galilee. Me, I'm from the village of Capehart. Hence the name Judas of Capehart, or Judas Iscariot, the only Judean in the group. I hold up my money bag here and I say, the others must have had confidence in me because they elected me their treasurer. And Jesus surely must have believed in me because he chose me as one of the 12. Of course I was upset when Mary washed his feet with that expensive ointment and perfume. I still think it was a waste of money. Yeah, and it was I who conspired with the chief priest. And if I have 30 pieces of silver on my person, that's my affair. I think Jesus is who he claims to be. But somebody has to force the issue and make him assert himself as God's Messiah. Then I will know for sure. For now, he refuses to make a move. Well, I've made one. He hints that he knows what I've done. He said so when he washed my feet a few moments ago and gave me the bread that he dipped in the dish. But I have my reasons. My soul isn't as evil as some think it is, nor is your soul as clean. And what would you do if you were in my place and wanted him to do something dramatic to prove his identity and usher in his kingdom? Should I ignore his remarks? Or, like the others, should I piously, self-righteously say to myself, is it I? Well, Jesus, is it I? And then Jesus says to me, what you must do quickly. And I hightail it out. Because what happens is basically the living Last Supper is each one of us comes and if you remember at the Last Supper, Jesus says, listen, one of you is going to betray me. And each one kind of looked at themselves, oh my gosh.
What are you, nuts?
Yeah, well, yeah, who's going to do this? Is it I? So each one of us kind of gives a little soliloquy of, who we are, because, you look at the apostles and most of you can't tell players without a scorecard, right? So we each say who we are, and then say, like, how our interaction, how we met Jesus, and then at the end, it's like, because when I played Nathaniel, it was, oh my gosh, you just told us that one of us is going to betray him. How can that be? How can, I still remember, how can one of his closest friends, how can a traitor be amongst his closest friends? But I have to ask myself, is it I? Jesus, is it I? Is it?
That's a long monologue.
The one I just did?
Yeah.
Oh, the other one actually is almost twice as long.
Really?
Yeah. So what I did was I break it up into segments.
Yeah.
So otherwise, you can't
memorize the segments.
Yeah.
Wow.
I told the pastor, I said, listen, I'm going to do such a good job with this thing. You're going to kick me out of church. You're going to ask me to leave and never come back. Just don't let the audience have tomatoes.
That's too funny.
Okay. It should be here.
Oh, we just slide these down, huh?
Yeah.
We can put this one here. I'll take this one.
I'm going to squeeze in for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
You should take number 4.
Huh?
You just take number 4, mic number 4?
Oh, I could? Yeah, or I can just move over. It doesn't matter. When he gets here, we'll figure it out. I'll only be able to stay for the one more segment, though. I have to leave you for segment 4.
Okay. So we'll get
That's okay.
Quick.
Oh, and one thing, I would be scheduled to come back on the 9th, and then again the 23rd. What I'd like to do, if you guys don't mind, is come on the 2nd and then the 23rd. So that would be
I may be
next
out
week.
the 9th anyway. I'm not sure
Okay.
yet.
Okay.
Go ahead and email me.
Okay. And we'll just yeah, I'll plan on it then, because
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to be out on the 9th, whether you are or aren't.
Where are you?
I'm having surgery the day before.
That's no excuse.
Yeah, I know, right?
What surgery?
Prostate surgery.
Holy smokes!
I know. I'm a little too young for that, huh?
Yeah.
Like by 20 years. Yeah.
Hey, can I just give you a broomstick and we'll just fix it all right now?
Right, I know.
Yeah.
See if
Oh, that's
that
right. Sorry,
works.
you gotta.
Yeah.
So what dates we're talking about? We're talking next week's the 2nd, then
Yes.
the 9th you're out, and you may be out the 9th?
I may be out the
So we
9th.
may catch up with, because we're
Yeah.
1 week ahead right
For
now.
a week
Exactly.
ahead, yeah.
So that'd be good. Be nice to have a Friday off. Fridays are getting so busy. And it's just that I end up having the morning, and now I've got my power partner from the event I went to. It's like at 2:30, and so it's like Fridays are supposed to be the day you
Okay.
kind of like chill and
do you-
relax, right?
Do you want to just automatically take the 9th off?
I think we might as well. I mean, gosh.
We're a show ahead.
We're a
Yeah.
show ahead. Yeah, and then just resume on the 16th, 20th.
Are you okay with that, Kramer?
Oh, I love it.
Really? Oh.
Boy,
Wait a
I
minute.
started
I don't want to
something
hear
here.
that.
Oh, no, I'm not okay with it. No, you guys got to come to work.
I started something here. What the heck
Yeah,
happened?
really. Okay, so hold on here. Okay.
Well, now
skiing.
whatever it was you were thinking you might do, now you're definitely doing it.
Yeah, really. Okay, so okay, so for sure we're taking Friday off here. Okay, and the 9th. For sure we are off March. Silly phones, they're not so smart, are they?
Yeah. I don't like trying to use my calendar. My iPhone doesn't quite work as well as my Outlook.
You need to get Exchange. Don't you have, you have
Oh,
Exchange?
I do. But what I really meant was it works better if I input my stuff on my keyboard via Outlook, and then it syncs with here.
Yeah.
But if I try to enter it here, sometimes it doesn't end up on.
It doesn't
Exchange.
sync?
It's supposed to. It does sometimes, but not always.
Do you have, do you have 2 calendars activated on there?
Yeah,
A
in
local
fact, I
calendar?
just
So
noticed
you
that I
got enough
had 2
shows to cover
calendars.
us
so
for a
I
while.
have
Set
to-
the default. Did you set the default?
Yeah, I just.
Because if you go to your settings,
Mhm.
and then you go to mail,
I'm sorry, Sarah.
And you
and
can
then
always
you go to the mail
just checking in
settings,
with
it'll
you.
say default account, and you might be saving your calendar items to your
I
local
think that's
instead
what's
of your
happening. I
phone.
think you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. It says like underground. It says like building, for B of A parking,
Hey Kramer, you want to get my?
right?
Oh, yeah. Get your good stuff now?
Might as well. Sitting here ready to go.
Absolutely.
I can look at
Did you
Edward.
pull into a left on Court Street?
Okay. You're getting good at this, Brian.
Okay, where? Oh, okay, you're in the corner of Luton's and 4th or Luton's and 5th?
Okay, keep going.
Okay, go ahead and, yeah, go ahead and do that. And then we're in the big 8-story building, the big white building, can't miss it.
Oh, let me come in closer. You're
Okay.
Good.
We'll see you in about 3 minutes.
Yeah, Mark, you're good, yeah.
Okay, all right. Yeah, he'll be in 3 minutes, he's just parking this car. Thanks for your patience, guys. That's right, yeah, we can get your...
Thanks, Brian. You're getting to be good. You're good.
Now, me, you don't
There
need
was
'cause
no
you got that,
coaching.
right?
Hey. Boom.
I know what you need.
You might as well get Mark too, right?
Yeah.
I've been there before now.
That'd be great if I can get you, Mark.
Okay.
And me you don't need because you got the other camera.
Yeah, and I'm, yeah.
Am I out of the frame?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Stand by.
Oh,
Oh,
Mark's
I love
in
that. I
Zen
close
mode.
the eyes.
He's in Zen
Oh,
mode.
Yeah. I must have said something fantastically deep.
And now you're going to look at Brian. You don't
Now this is where you agree and you go, yeah, oh,
Say
absolutely.
absolutely. Because what you have to say is vitally important.
Then he's going to introduce you, and this is my co-host, and you kind of give a smile like,
Co-host?
fine on it, man. I'm good. I'm the co-host.
That's the confident smile.
Thank you.
Hey, do we almost look like brothers? You know? Yeah, look at that.
I don't know what's going on here.
Let me
There's some
see.
kind of like camaraderie thing
I
going
don't know if
on
you
here
look
that I'm
good
just
with the
not
beard
part of.
there, Brian.
No, I don't think
Let's
so.
see.
Anything serious with this? I mean, to have
Yeah, you
such
don't
a-
look like brothers. Band of
Oh,
brothers.
I know, right?
Yeah. Is it a hereditary thing, or?
I have no idea. No idea
But
what.
how did you just go for a routine test and they said?
No, I had. I thought I had a urinary tract infection.
Oh.
And because I had like this massive pain, and they're like, this was like a year ago, and they were like, oh well, you know, usually men don't get urinary tract infections; they usually get prostate infections. So we'll treat you for that. So I was on antibiotics for like 2 months. It did nothing.
Still had the pain.
Still had the pain and all that, and then like some spasms, and I'm like, what the hell? So I go to the urologist, and he's like, you know, thinking like, you know, come on, you know, they can't be anything, you know, well, let's do this test and that test. And he's like, well, maybe you have some scar tissue in your bladder or something. So he does this thing where they use a camera and check for that, and he's like, no, he's actually, you got, your prostate's just totally swelled up. So he's like, you know, so, you know, you take medicine for it, you know, like they have this, you know, these beta blockers and stuff.
Yeah.
So I started taking that, and it was the worst thing ever. It made me feel like absolute crap. I felt lethargic. I felt like,
long ago was
you know,
this?
this was last, like January, February.
Oh, okay, before you started doing the show.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
I was going to say that
yeah.
you'd never seen
It
the
was like a year ago, and so finally I couldn't tolerate the medicine anymore. So I called the doctor. I said, I can't take this anymore, and I'm stopping. And they're like, all right.
Wow.
So he said the next thing you can do is surgery, but fortunately there's different kinds of surgery you can get. One is microwave. So basically they cook it with a microwave. So that's what I'm getting done.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah. If that doesn't work, then they cut it out, and I'm like, I don't want that one. So I'm going for the microwave one.
Because they can always cut it out later if they.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So you had a bladder infection,
That's what I thought it was.
and you couldn't pee. I mean, you had tremendous pain.
It
when you
just
started
like
to pee?
constant pain. You know, it was
Whether
like
you
this.
peed or not.
Yeah, exactly. It was like this constant pain. Then I started noticing it's like, okay, I didn't feel like I was emptying my bladder all the way.
Yeah.
You know, and then I started noticing it's like going through a thin straw. And I'm explaining it to him, and he's like, that sounds like prostate disease. You're way too young for that. So that's probably not
Because
it.
you're 40.
42. Yeah. So I do this flow test, and he's like, "This is a classic prostate flow test." He's like, "This is really strange." So ran the rest of the test, and it's like, "Yeah."
Let me ask you, did he, because I went through this, did he make you empty your bladder?
Uh-huh.
I mean, you stick the tube up
Uh-huh.
and then you empty it out?
Yeah, they do that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
With a
yeah, it's
camera
not as
in it,
painful.
with a camera in it.
Oh, with the and it's not as painful
Yeah.
as one thinks, but it
Up the
is.
tushy?
Yeah. Huh?
Up the tushy?
Or you don't want anything going.
Boy, I can really identify, because I went through all that
Yeah.
for 2
Well, I got a
months, and I
colonic.
took the medicine, and unlucky, he says, you take the medicine for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And I stopped there.
Yeah.
So I mean, I can, this,
So
bladder infections hurt.
you've never had the surgery. You just had the
No,
medicine.
he talked about it, and I go, no. But he uses like donut hole. He uses terms like donut hole and all.
Sit on that, maybe?
I don't know what he meant, but he wrote a donut. After he used all these terms, I go, I don't think so. But you still were sick after the medicine didn't bring down the swelling or anything.
Even when I was taking the medicine, it seemed to help only like maybe 10%.
Oh.
But I felt terrible taking it because it just made me. It's a beta blocker, so it's originally was designed, I guess, to lower blood pressure. So, first they put me on Flomax. Did you take that?
Yes.
Okay, I took that.
I still take it.
It made my my hips almost lock up.
Oh.
I could not hardly move my legs. It was just so massively painful. So I went in there and I said, I don't know what's going on, but I can hardly move my legs. And I was looking online and I saw other people talking about the same thing when they're on Flomax. Because apparently it's supposed to concentrate towards the pelvic area. And it did. So I was like, I can't take that anymore. So then he put me on this other one. I can't remember what it was. And I took that, and that, I didn't have the hip pain. It just made me like...
And you can't think, right? You start...
Yeah, I couldn't concentrate. I couldn't focus.
I was filming when the same thing hold that thought, like you can't concentrate. I was filming here and whatever, and I had one hell of a time.
I was taking helicopter lessons.
You were? Were you really?
Yeah. So I'm flying a helicopter, and I'm like, I can't take this stuff anymore. I had to stop.
Helicopter lessons are good for you. You still doing it? Taking helicopter lessons? I mean,
I haven't.
Continue back?
I about a year ago, I just got so busy I had to stop for a bit.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna get back into it.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I filmed out of helicopters. They're the only way to film out of anything. You're strapped
yeah.
in and that's there. And it's really nothing is in your way.
Yeah, yeah.
Monday I'm going flying. They want me to film some stuff from the air, but it's a Piper Cub.
Oh, right.
Hey.
Yeah, I fly airplanes
There he is.
already. I have.
Brian, how are
Hey,
you?
good. How you doing?
Good, you made it. Okay, this is our videographer, Kramer.
Hi. Hey, I'm Brian. Nice to meet you.
I'll introduce you to my co-host here.
Come on in.
This is my
Hey,
co-host,
Brian.
Mark.
Mark.
Hunt.
Hey, nice to meet you, Mark.
This is Brett Money. First of all, shake your hand here.
Good to see you.
And there's another Brian.
Hi, I'm Brian. I won't forget your name.
Yeah. Brian's from
Come on
Practice
in,
Capital.
All right.
Come on in. You can go all the way
There's
down.
4 of us. We have to squeeze in a little bit, but
All
Yeah,
right.
just kind of be careful of the
cords.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The mic is on. You don't have to touch it. Just bring your
hot.
feet all the way. And the way these mics work.
Just gonna slide as far over as you can because it's a very tight cord. All
Yeah,
three of us
sorry.
are in like this little 2-foot space here.
So you want to be about like this.
Actually, am I okay like this, Kramer? Because I can't get this chair in any farther.
You're good.
There's the type
No,
of
I
mics
get you.
where
All right.
when you talk to these guys,
I just got to adjust the other
you
camera.
go like this. You don't go like
Oh,
that.
well, here, I can do
Yeah.
this.
So
Okay.
you just basically pivot if you need to pivot.
I think
like
I
that.
can do it.
Make sense? Okay. What we do is we'll have you on for the last 2 segments. This Brian can only stay with us for the first of that segment. We already recorded
Next
2.
segment, yeah.
Okay.
Recorded 2 already.
And is he in the way a little bit?
Yeah.
Brian, you want to move over to the left?
Oh
a
yeah,
little
yeah,
bit?
absolutely.
And then
Okay, now come this
the way
way.
I do this is
that good?
Thank you.
I'll
Yep.
go count down like this because you have to have 5 seconds of quiet before we actually record, and then at the very end we'll be quiet for so many seconds, and then I'll cut it off when it's commercial break. So what we'll do here is introduce. Coming back from break, we're going to ask the trivia question.
The trivia question.
Which I don't know if you guys know the answer.
I don't
to that
even
one.
remember it, so.
That's like, yeah. In fact, and if you know the answer, you can chime in on this, and then I'll introduce you.
Oh, wait,
And it's
wait.
really interesting because we were talking. We were talking. I was explaining to Brian Burke here what you do and how I'm a part of this.
That's why I have to go to
And
the
I was
gym.
thinking, yeah, but for
Yeah.
this business, what he does is he raises money for buying rental properties.
Mhm.
And then I was like, God, I don't know if I could use it. But then he brought up the point of they'd be the broker's commission.
See how that typically works.
Yeah.
Real estate or commercial brokers, they pay their commissions for trade.
Yeah.
And someone's coming to them and handing them a deal.
Exactly, because he liked the idea of
Just
using
was
it
on a bigger
for,
deficit.
you know, nutrition or something, you know.
For what it's
convenience.
worth.
Okay, you guys ready?
We're ready, yeah, let's,
Okay, headphones are right there. Make sure, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. We can all kind, fortunately, we're not like in a bunch of rooms.
You have questions for Brian? I mean, once we get going, I'm sure we can figure it all out.
Not specific,
You kind of know.
but yeah,
He can explain.
he'll
you know,
explain what he does and.
You go, oh, cool, yeah, make money.
Okay, you guys
Barter
ready?
exchange, yeah.
Okay, here we go. Well, welcome back to the Best of Investing. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Mark Hanf and Brian Burt. And when we cut to the second commercial break, we ask this trivia question. What board game reportedly is the most popular game in America? And today's trivia theme is board games. Does anyone know the answer to that?
Is it Monopoly?
No, it is not. A lot of people, that's what I thought
Not
too.
Monopoly,
It's
huh?
not Monopoly. Anybody? Anybody?
I would guess Scrabble.
Scrabble!
Oh.
Yes,
I was gonna say, I don't have a clue.
The new man in the studio.
That was the last question.
Oh, right.
And that voice that you just heard was Brian Capehart, and Brian is president of Pacific Trade Exchange, and he's going to explain what is Pacific Trade Exchange. Brian, welcome to the Best of Investing.
Thanks for having me today, Edward. Pacific Trade Exchange is a indirect B2B trading exchange, otherwise known as a barter exchange. There's a few of us out here on the street.
Okay.
What we do is we make it possible for clients to utilize an alternative currency in order to indirectly trade with other members. Being that a restaurant buys advertising from, let's say, Marin Magazine. Instead of them using cash, they use restaurant gift certificates, for example. So in essence, they're trading on their cost of goods for that advertising.
Okay, and so they might get business that they might not otherwise get.
Guaranteed new business.
Okay.
Wow, how big a market is that, Brian?
As far as industry-wide?
Yeah.
Industry-wide, if you look at, go to a website called IRTA, International Reciprocal Trade Associations, they're banking it at 4% of our GDP, or right at $63 billion a year annually is done in trade.
So that's how big the barter industry is, 4%. Wow, that's big.
But one thing I think you have to explain to the public here is that it is legal, and they get 1090. You know, there are 1099s that get issued by the IRS. It's not some underground economy.
Right. You know, that's funny you bring that up. A lot of times when we're meeting with a new client, you see the look in their face of this is too good to be true. And that's usually when I'll chime in and say, you know, at the end of the year, you're going to get a 1099 Schedule B, which is for your barter
values of
exchange,
service, yeah.
or yeah. So you still pay taxes on the revenue that we bring you.
Okay. And potentially though, they'll get the tax deduction if they're using the trade for their business. So a business that needs, you know, a plumber specifically in their own building that they use for writing off on their taxes would be a deduction anyway.
Exactly. Not an accountant, but typically anything you spend cash for on your business, it's a write-off, would be the same thing in trade.
Exactly. And I was explaining to Brian earlier, the other Brian Burke here, the type of business that you are in. And at first I was thinking, gosh, you know, the kind of business Brian is in with raising money for investments in rental properties, there may not be a fit. But then, Brian, you actually brought up the point.
Yeah, I said, you know, we also have a real estate brokerage firm. So I said, in one respect, you know, we could have a plumber work on our rental house, and in exchange, we could offer real estate brokerage services to someone selling a house, for example.
Exactly.
So it seems like it's multidisciplinary. It doesn't really matter what you do. If you exchange money for your services, you could utilize something like this.
Correct.
And I'm going to give you a little plug here, Brian, because for a couple of reasons. First of all, your fee is only 5% compared to a lot of other companies that are 6%. But you know, in theory, if there's just a specific situation where, you know, an electrician needs a plumber and a plumber needs an electrician, they don't need anybody else. But that's rarely the case, and especially if the plumber's bid is $1,000 and the electrician's bid is $10,000 because of the type of work. I mean, that's not an even trade. So your company acts as the brokerage.
Correct.
And it's sort of like its own currency.
We look at it as, in our company, we're trying to rebrand our business to be a little bit different, where we're a community of member businesses who indirectly trade amongst each other. You know, I tell every one of my clients, it's not my exchange by any means, it's your guys' exchange. We're just managing it.
Yeah, and what would happen, I guess, is because I'm a member of your exchange, and so what I would do is, if I needed a construction guy or if I needed a good restaurant or something, you have a directory, or I could just call you up because you offer that personal service.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So how would I know if my business would be a good fit for that kind of service?
Well, typically I tell people to think about your margins. If you have a better than a 70% margin, you're doing great. You know, for somebody, for example, when somebody says, hey, can we get some new computers? It's just not going to happen typically, because those computer resellers have a very small margin. That's not to say we don't do excess inventory deals at times, which in fact we're currently doing that right now. But you know, if someone has a good margin, they have room for extra business, they're a good fit.
Especially if you're a labor service provider, like like you mentioned, a plumber or an accountant or somebody who you're basically selling your time for money. That's an excellent fit, it would seem to me.
Oh.
Now, if you had to buy a lot of materials or things that go into what you're doing, I can see where you have some constraints there.
Exactly. It just comes down to what's called the liquidity of the dollar.
Yeah.
The example you just brought up, you know, construction, if you have to lay out a lot of cash. Well, if you were going to spend, let's use $1,000. If you were going to spend $1,000 on, let's say, printing, you can either write a check for that, or let's say that $1,000, we'll call you a handyman right now. You did a $1,000 job, but you know, you had $600 in parts there. At the end of the day, you're still saving $400, and we brought you the job. So it all comes down to people, what they can spend their trade on.
Is
how they
there-
can
But there's
reinvest
also
it.
a combination.
Yeah, I was
It
gonna say,
doesn't
is there a
have to be short.
hybrid
There
where-
is, there is,
yeah.
especially in that exact example with construction, where the guys, you know, the trade guy might say, listen, you know, I'll do the job for $1,000, but my materials are $600. You got to pay at least the $600 in cash.
Yeah, if it's something they don't currently stock, I mean, that's how we look at it,
Yeah.
because if that $1,000 job is going down at a restaurant they frequent, that restaurateur is gonna say, look, people come in here, they eat our food, they leave, and we have to come out of pocket for that food, so why don't they pay us 30% every time they come in and eat? Some people would say, that sounds good, let's do it. That exchange won't be around. Managing clients' expectations and managing the way clients buy and sell, that's the key to having a very strong trading relationship with your clients.
Yeah. And here's the funny thing, and I was telling Brian earlier that a lot of people might think, well, you know, you deal in trade, they're going to inflate the currency type of thing. But in a couple of cases, it's been amazing. I've actually gotten bids lower on trade than if it was an all-cash deal, just because it happened to be the human being I was dealing with just happened to be somebody who was willing to do it for a decent price.
More realistic.
Isn't there the general expectation that there's gonna be some cost savings? Otherwise, am I missing something in how this works in theory? I mean, generally, otherwise, why wouldn't you just pay cash for the simplicity of it?
That's a good point. Let's say today if you need to spend, again, let's use $1,000. That's gonna come out of your existing cash flow, what you do currently to generate that cash. Where the cash savings comes in, one, we're gonna hand you a deal. We're gonna say, here's somebody who's gonna buy your product right now today for $1,000. So now you have a new deal there. You know the cost of that, let's say, was 30%, so $300. When you spend that $1,000 in trade, you just saved yourself about $700 because you're using a different currency.
Well, who it really works really well for are, like, you know, the Raiders and the Warriors. They do it on trade because they'll have excess tickets, and once the game is over, those tickets were useless.
Yeah.
So it's better for them to throw them in the hopper in a trade company. So it's not just a mom and pop. I mean, there are trade organizations who have big ticket items, like or you know, well-known companies like the Raiders and the Giants do it. I think the Giants do it also.
Oh yeah, I think they trade with one of my competitors over in the East Bay.
Okay.
Yeah, I think luxury suites, things like that.
Yeah. So it's, but again, the thing that's good about yours is, why don't you explain about how the 5% fee works?
It's pretty simple. A lot of times people think it's 5% of the transaction, being that we're gonna, you know, $1,000, we're gonna keep $5, but that's not it. We charge a
$50.
5%. Sorry. Yeah, who's your broker here?
Yeah, $5 done. Go ahead.
We charge 5% cash on every one of the transactions. So when you spend $1,000, your bill's gonna be $50.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where how those fees are generated. Typically, we'll charge a monthly service fee depending on the account as well. But the bread and butter are the transaction fees. And with that said, if you You know, you spend 6 months to a year in a trade exchange, you may have bought some great things like, let's say, Raider tickets or limousine trips. Then your accountant comes in, or maybe a wife, a partner, etc., and says, look, you just spent $10,000 last year, and you bought all this personal stuff. This doesn't make sense. We're not taking trade anymore, even if you had a 10% cost of goods. Where we, at our company, is a little bit different. When we work with clients, we schedule out exactly where they're going to be reinvesting the trade dollars. You can either spend trade dollars or reinvest them. Investing meaning you're going to get a return. I work diligently helping people place media buys, buying things like wholesale beer for my restaurants, wholesale bread, wholesale wine. Things are going to absolutely be able to bring cash business in. So if that conversation, if it ever comes up, I can quickly look at the account. So you spent $10,000 in things you would have written a check for, and it brought back the cash.
Huh.
Solid.
Okay. Guys, we're going to cut to our third and final trivia question, and again, the theme is board games. What board game has various characters such as Queen Frosting, Lord Licorice, and Grandma Nut? The first 3 callers with the correct answer win a free 3-day, 2-night stay. Yeah, I asked the kids. The first 3 callers with the correct answer win a free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Their website is lighthouse4fun.com. Call 888-912-1190. That's 888-912-1190 to answer this question. What board game has various characters such as Queen Frosting, Lord Licorice, and Grandma Nut? Call 888-912-1190. Make sure to include your name, address, and email address, and spell it out and speak slowly, and we will be right back. Good.
Awesome.
I hate my voice.
Just make sure.
Nothing you can do.
I know it's hard, but there's a temptation to talk like this,
Yeah.
and you just pretend that you're connected here, and you just pivot. That's all you have to do, just pivot. Let's see. Having fun so far?
We're in intermission.
Yes.
What have we not gotten into that we can get into next segment?
Oh, yeah.
Questions.
And your card. You bet.
A
Let's
release.
see here.
Oh.
Oh, it's great when
Yes.
it brings up my competitor's #1 client.
Oh, yeah.
I know, sorry
Thanks,
about that.
Edward.
Yeah.
No, I thought,
That's okay.
how am I going to transition back over?
That was,
Well, can-
you did
can-
it, you did
But
it.
you know what's
The reason
funny,
why
now
you
we're
can't
off
get
air,
ratings?
the big difference with that is,
Yeah.
when, like, I'm working with Goomis Advertising right now to do some stuff with the Giants, but it's going to be for actual tickets,
Yeah.
see, if, you know, that you would normally go to.
There you go.
On trade, if Edward calls now and try to get
You wanna
some
make
sports
copies?
tickets, they're going to
Yeah.
be $4,500 private box seats.
I'll leave one.
So do you really want to take 18 people and spend $4,500?
Yeah.
And that's where they let a client, here's a big difference, clients sometimes want to dictate to us how that account's going to be ran.
Yeah.
When I used to run broker floors,
I'm gonna jet.
it's
All right,
our
what's the answer?
account.
I don't know, I don't have a clue, what is it?
Candyland.
So when the Raiders
That
tell
seems
us
so
we're only
obvious.
gonna sell what we
When you
can't
go to
sell
lunch,
anyway.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's all we
I'll
want
be
to
here
do, it
next
doesn't
week, so
work.
I'll see you
Yeah.
before.
You know, it'd be
We'll
great.
see when I'm still
if
working.
back in the day,
Yeah.
we could actually
Yeah.
get regular
Yeah,
tickets.
really. You
And
gonna
that's
be
kinda
walking
like I
funny?
don't really deal
Yeah,
with the Raiders
probably.
anymore.
Oh, all right.
Because it's
Say a lot
tough
of
when you
weird
tell a
things, but-
business,
I
this is
know,
a wise
exactly.
decision,
Yeah.
spend $4,500 trade on a box.
Mark, I'll see you next week.
All right. Take care.
Hey, good
Ryan, it was
meeting
nice meeting you.
It's a pleasure meeting
Take
you
care.
too. All right, good luck. We'll see you guys.
All right, bye.
My-
Bye.
So, okay, some questions then. So we're not looking at
Did
each
you
other
bring
doubly.
up-
The next segment.
It's very simple form.
Sure.
Television.
I ran out without my notepad, so I don't even have notes.
Well, we could ask, I mean, it's interesting because I was thinking, like, for Kramer. You know, mind if I mention you?
No.
Okay.
We need money.
Kramer's a good example, right? He's a videographer, he might have a need,
thank
you know,
you.
someone who's got a need for, he doesn't like do weddings, but let's say for their website. And so it's, you know, it's his labor basically, right? So he goes ahead and does it and gets treated, because it's one thing if you're always so busy and you're doing all kinds of cash deals, that's one thing.
Yeah.
And yet, then you kind
It's
of don't need
capacity,
training.
yeah, right.
But it's the, you know, the guys who are kind of hanging around who may not have enough or
Yeah.
excess inventory.
Yeah.
You got a card, Mike?
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
let me see how much time we have.
I'm sorry, I actually didn't bring
Can I get
mine,
one?
so.
Thank you.
You bet, thank you. Yeah, so we need to talk, because my meeting with Marin Magazine a couple minutes ago, last thing we ended on was, you need to help me find a videographer that can work for us on trade to do more of our videos with our restaurants and our dine section.
See, I'd love to be in Marin Magazine. They're really expensive.
Yeah, me
and
too.
I don't know if I have anything to trade with.
What do you do?
Their business. Private money lender. I do private money real estate loans.
Yeah, it makes it tough. That comes down to fees and stuff.
Yeah,
See,
yeah.
the idea too, back on trade is like a lot of times folks will, like you're in a good situation with trade, right? Because your cost of goods.
Yeah.
And sometimes people will assume that this is the best way trade works, it's the optimum way, but it's not the best way. You know, because if we only had an exchange of massage therapists, everybody who needed business, who had all the time in the world to do business, that's when it's like, why don't I just use the cash world? Because we're gonna get a better quality product and probably at a better rate, like what he found doing the bids. You know, because the
Yeah,
company
that's
that
amazing.
bid, because my competitor's the same way. We don't want companies that are looking at us as a lifeline. We're a vitamin supplement for a healthy business.
Ah.
So that's why I probably got a pretty good bid, because he's dealing with a really reputable company versus someone right now who's starving, looking like, man, here's the one bid that I got this week, we're gonna go for broke.
That's a
But,
good point. That's something we should bring up. I like what you just said. We're a vitamin supplement. not
I'm
a
gonna feed the
lifeline.
meter. You got time?
So
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
a
good, go ahead.
Good explanation, because I think that's, I
just
think the
gonna
hardest
feed
part
the
in
meter.
something like this is, because I'm a prime example, I still, as I'm sitting here right now, have a hard time really understanding why and what it is, and why would I even go onto your website? So maybe we can talk a
Well,
little
for
about
your-
the practical.
See,
point
that's
of
the
it.
thing, it's like for your.
Well, for me, no, I'm not even talking about just
Yeah.
for me and my company, period, just, but, you know, as an individual, would there be any?
Well, only if
maybe
you have,
there
only
isn't.
if you have a company,
Yeah.
right?
No, you need to have a company. There's some people who do individual, you know, type of community, but you can't evaluate the hours and stuff.
Yeah.
That's the thing. People
Okay.
would have to agree on a typical hour, and that's,
You know, work for $15 an hour painting your house or something like that. I mean,
Right.
unless you're like a real business.
Understood. Okay, well, again, okay, I know.
He's just feeding the meter. He'll be
but
right
the other
back.
thing too, you know, you think about an auto body shop, you know, like my auto body shops love trade because they've got techs that are making 15 to 25 bucks an hour, and sometimes they're waiting for the paint booth. They're waiting for this, they're
Yeah.
waiting for a part. While they're waiting, they're restoring a '67 Volkswagen bus that my winery owns. So when Roberto's looking from his window down, all his guys are working. Same happened with
Exactly.
Juana Lafayette German. And that's what, you know, this, talking about questions, I love to plug clients on this if we could, you know.
Yeah, sure.
So we're talking about cool trades, like Bison Brew. Bison Breweries, like, called me and said, here's the difference between me and other
Not by
companies.
some breweries, but Bison breweries.
Bison
But,
Brewery?
and this is a big difference, like,
Bison Brew.
he used to be with my competitor, and he could call them and say, I need to get tap handles made, sorry, we don't do that. Calls me, let's think about this, auto body shop. So we turned around and got 350 tap handles
The auto
made.
body shop made it?
Yep.
That's a
Dan
great
brought in the
story.
material for him, wants it, I can keep this one guy over here working every day for the next 3 days doing these, and earn 150
Well, because that's the thing, is he's not gonna lay off those guys for 2 days and then say, okay, come back. You know, I had that, a roofing situation when we owned a building across the street here, and it's like, we needed a roof, but, you know, it's like, I don't know, if we really need, because we were gonna sell the building, and we got a bid of like, you know, $15,000, which was not too unreasonable, but we just weren't ready to pull the trigger. And the guy, the roofer called me like a week later, and he goes, Edward, listen, he goes, here's the deal. He goes, I don't have enough work right now. If I lay these guys off, I won't be able to get them back. I'll do it for 10 grand.
Yeah.
And it was.
Well, that's how I got my cabinets built for my last house. Same thing. It was like, oh God, you guys are so expensive. And literally within weeks, he said, I'm between projects. Let me just
That's
come
it.
down and just,
Yeah.
I just want to keep busy.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Now the thing is, if you were in a trade organization, you could still do that, right? It doesn't have to, it doesn't have to be cash. In fact, the guy could say, listen, I'll do it all for trade.
Right.
Yeah.
This all comes down to where people are spending. You know, my competitor, they try to do things all at 100%, like on construction and whatnot, and then you'll find out that they might talk somebody into doing 1 or 2 deals, and then they're not a client anymore.
Exactly.
What I do is I'll work, is I am the guy in the middle when I've got to explain to a restaurateur why they're paying, say, 20%, 30% cash for a new roof, for example, and they give me people come to my restaurant. Well, I know these are incremental sales. You would have thrown away the food. He's not storing the
Yeah.
shingles in his. I can come back with all those arguments, but I try not to. But then it just helps them understand that this is still a huge benefit. It's either you do it or you don't. So instead of talking someone into doing these big jobs like that,
Yeah.
you know, that's what my contractor, we're doing some pretty big contracting jobs
Yeah.
right now.
And it's better to just, and to do some cash and trade, just to get the
Mhm.
deal done rather than lose it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what do you do when if you can't find, do you, I mean, if let's say I asked you for something and you just don't have it in the system, you can't make it, then what do? You just say no, or do you push it on the competitor, or what?
Well, that's funny, because we're actually pretty good at calling people back and letting them know we don't have that.
Yeah.
Because, no, it's either we find out two things, either we have it in the network, or we're gonna go after it, because you've supplied us with a couple of bids, because we work together on this one.
Yeah.
But then we come back and say, hey, we have a new client, he's ready to do your job, or here's what we have found, why it does not work for this industry. Because, you know, we don't claim to know everything.
And do you trade dollars with other organizations? Because, you know, a couple of them do.
Yeah, we do reciprocal.
Oh, that's not me.
Yeah, I'll do reciprocal things, but that's going to a third account between the two, where some companies actually honor each other's currencies.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, honor.
And that's, they've tried that one before, and it just becomes a big mess.
Yeah, because I don't want a credit balance on the phone. Okay, you guys ready?
Yep.
Okay. I'm ready. Good. Okay, I'm gonna do 4 seconds of silence here. We got 9 minutes to go. Okay, here we go. Welcome back to the Best of Investing. I'm Edward Brown, your host, in the studio with Mark Hanf, and we have a guest, Brian Capehart of Pacific Trade Exchange, who's actually the sponsor of the show. I love that. Okay, here's the trivia question. What board game has various characters such as Queen Frosting, Lord Licorice, and Grandma Nut? Anybody?
Well, you gotta have little kids to know the answer to that. It's Candyland.
Candyland, that's right. And I gotta tell you that that's one of the most competitive games in my household. I am ruthless. Do not play Candyland with me. The kids end up crying.
Yes.
It's a mess, I'll tell you. Okay.
Great dad.
Yeah, you love it. Kids love me. Okay, Brian, you are with Pacific Trade Exchange, and we're talking about the various aspects of your company. And Mark, I think you.
Well, yeah. So you started out, Brian, by saying you're more of a B2B exchange, which I guess means, like, as a consumer, I wouldn't just log on to the site and be able to, like, engage with your clientele or barter, because unless I have a business, I need to have something to offer. So what is there an industry that, like, is the most popular type of industry, or is there a group of industries that are kind of like the most popular participants in this exchange?
Well, your foundations typically are gonna be your media, your restaurants, and your travel, because everybody uses those.
Mhm.
And that would start it out. And then you start looking at who can service those different industries. Would it be a linen company for your restaurants, wholesale beer distributors, floor cleaning? And you start building from that, because you want to start, when you look at a new client, like on break we were talking about, would certain businesses be a good fit? We won't sign up a client unless we know we can bring them business and help them offset expenses. And
Wow.
So it's a pretty big world out there. I mean, sometimes we're shocked when somebody calls us and our first reaction might be, I don't think we can help them. Then you start thinking, or that person starts telling us reasons why, then the light bulbs start going off.
Well, it's amazing. I've dealt with Brian here for a few months, and it's really interesting. He's very creative. It's really, really interesting.
And you said something also off the air about it being, not an answer for a company that's, like, dying for business. I forgot how you put it. I thought you put
Vitamin
it
supplement.
Yeah, so I didn't coin that myself, but somebody I worked with for a few years coined that term, and what he had said was, trade should not be looked at as a lifeline for a failing business.
Got it.
This is a vitamin supplement for a healthy business. And couldn't have been said any better.
Well, give the example with the gentleman with the handles.
Yeah, that was a
That was
great
really
story.
cool
Share that
story.
one, please.
Yeah, that was interesting. Our wholesale beer distributor, Bison Brew, which is an organic brewery out of Berkeley, he called me one day and said, hey, we're going to start putting our beer in kegs and hitting the restaurants. I need some tap handles. And I just, geez, we don't have anybody who's going to make tap handles.
Yeah.
But, it started, hung up the phone and just started thinking, and I spoke with Dan later that day, and we had this great idea. He was going to get the materials. This is something our auto body shop wouldn't normally have. We took the materials he needed to an auto body shop, and they put the tap handles together for him. So the auto body shop thought it was great.
Using their spare labor.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was exactly
In
what it
between
was.
Otherwise, exactly. Otherwise, they're just
Right,
sitting
because
around doing nothing.
the employees are getting paid by the hour.
Yeah.
Right.
And
So
his employee thought it was awesome. The guy who actually put these together thought it was the coolest days at work. Instead of sanding a car, he's
Yeah.
putting tap handles together.
That's amazing. Any other fun stories you got like that?
Oh man, you know, it can all vary. Let's see.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, well, it's interesting. I was talking before I knew about these trade organizations where we had a roof that needed to get done, but the bid came in at 15,000, and at the time we were going, that's a little too much. We don't know if we really need it, and so we just did nothing. A week later, the guy calls us back and said, "Listen, here's the deal. I'm in between jobs, and I don't want to let my laborers go, or else I won't be able to get them back. I'll do the job for 10 grand." And we said, "Sure, okay, that's a good price." And so we went ahead and did it. Now, that's the kind of organization where, again, it's very similar to an auto body shop, where if you're going to have to pay these guys anyway, you might as well at least get something for it. And if you can get trade, and especially if you have to pay a fee of only, roughly 5%, for every $1,000, it's only costing you $50.
So if you're thinking of it in terms of what is your business capacity operating at, so particularly when you've got hourly employees, and if you're operating at 70 or 80% of capacity, wouldn't that be really cool to put some of that excess capacity to work?
That's good. That's a good point.
Exactly. In fact, that model there, hotels,
Perfect.
it's perfect because you have a hotel room there that you're going to have cleaned up the next day anyway. Might as well put people in there.
Yeah, because an empty hotel, or even airplanes, actually they should do it for airplanes too, but that's kind of hard to get United Airlines to do that, isn't it?
Yeah, would be.
Yeah, but hotel rooms, I mean, what's the income that comes in off of an empty hotel room? Nothing.
Right. So what do you call the currency that you deal with at Pacific Exchange, Pacific Trade Exchange?
Well, all of us call them trade dollars. Some people might refer to it as barter dollars, but in the industry wide, it's known as trade dollars.
Yeah, because you're not really bartering. When I think of barter, I think of direct one-on-one.
Correct.
You actually have your own currency within the system.
Right.
And how do you verify, or you got to make sure that people don't try to get too much, inflate the dollar, basically. How do you clamp down on that?
You mean as far as if they spend too much or they take it too much in?
Or they just say, oh yeah, sure, I'll do this work for you, but it'll be 50 million trade dollars.
Right.
How do you take that valuation?
Well, it's funny. The first thing we look at is we ask ourselves, why would that person be doing that? And the answer to that is always they don't feel the value is there in that dollar, so they're going to charge more if someone wants to use it. And unfortunately, since we make money based on the size of the transaction, some companies in my industry, they don't really care because they're going to be paying more fees anyway. I personally, I was in this industry directly for 9 years with another company, and I can't tell you how difficult those phone calls are later when somebody just overpaid by 3 times, but someone tells them, well, you're a restaurant, you got a 30% cost of goods.
Oh, that's a terrible answer.
It really is, and it comes back to having the hard discussion with that seller. And I give people choices. When I see somebody charging part cash or inflating, my inflation speech is pretty quick. We have this restaurant gift certificate in. How much do you want? $1,000? Yes. Great, it's going to be $1,500 trade. Why would you charge me $1,500 trade dollars for $1,000 trade dollars a restaurant script? Interesting point. And it becomes a working relationship. It becomes a really good working relationship between you and the buyer and the seller. And then after that, you don't have to deal with that anymore. But they put the onus on you to make sure when I go to spend my trade that I have that value there.
Exactly.
And is that a problem with other organizations? Is keeping a lid on inflating those exchange
It can
dollars?
be. I dealt with some where I had a guy come out for a bid on doing some work on my trees, and his bid was like 3 times the amount that would have cost for cash.
That's
and he wasted his time coming all the way there because they said, "Oh, it's just trade dollars." I go, "No, these things are valuable."
Okay.
All right, guys, we have to sign off today.
How do we get a hold of them?
Brian, how do people get a hold of you?
Oh, very simple. Just go to pactrade.org.
Okay, we're definitely going to have you back on the show. On a personal note, I'm going to be playing Judas, the bad guy, at Valley Baptist Church on San Rafael at 6 p.m. on April 1st. Yes, come watch your favorite host be the bad guy. It's called The Living Last Supper, where we look just like the Da Vinci painting. And thoughts for the day. If you have a headache, do what it says on the aspirin bottle. Take 2 and keep away from children. And I saw a sign that said, "Seeing eye dogs only." Who's supposed to read this? The dog? Okay, tune in next week to the Best of Investing. We're going to be giving away 9 more free vacations for answering trivia questions. Thanks Pacific Trade Exchange for sponsoring the show. And audience, thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm Edward Brown. wishing you the best of investing. So long. And that's a wrap.
That's
16 seconds to go.
Awesome. How much?
Good. 16 seconds to go.
We'll have a little
Good.
bit longer bumper music, I guess.
Yeah.
I know Kay.
He doesn't have to do that.
Oh, he doesn't have to do that? Okay.
This was an interesting, it was really easy to work with you over here.
Yeah.
I got 2 mics, I can come in.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Okay.
it was a new style we're trying.
Oh, yeah?
We're trying everything we can.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because we
In
don't
such a
know.
big room like this.
Yeah, really. We don't know when this show's going to air yet.
Okay.
Because we're putting
Yeah.
all the different dates together.
I gotta run because
Okay.
I was supposed to
No,
have a
you're here.
2:30 conference call. I
Oh,
just
oh.
bumped it to 3, and I gotta be better from my office. So.
Okay.
Sorry to
Thanks,
run.
Ross.
I know you were great to meet you.
Yeah, thanks.
Brian. That's great.
Nice meeting you
Yeah,
too.
Absolutely. Well, I wish maybe I can't figure out a way one of these days to one of my ancillary.
Well,
You know, here's the other thing we're trying. I didn't want to say anything about this on air with consumers.
Yeah, sure.
But we are going to, Vizex tried this, which we're not going to do this, where they're actually selling trade dollars. This is how stupid this is. Yes. Remember
how much-
Tidbits? They tried this. They were going to actually let you, as a consumer, log in and buy trade credits
Mhm.
at 50 to 70 cents on the dollar.
No, when did
I
they do
saw
that?
Well, I saw that coming out, and I called a few of our mutual key clients. Said, "Do you know about this?" And they're like, "Are you kidding me?" And next thing you know, that part of that website was gone in a few days.
Oh,
Because
okay.
that would have, because what happened
horrible.
before?
That took values, everything, at least 50 to 70.
Because a lot of these times, I mean, we've talked about this
Yeah.
before about the greed
It's
of
about
an
making, now I understand, it's about making more money in your business, not getting extreme discounts for services and products.
Exactly, but if you look and you spend 10 grand on a really killer ski vacation,
Yeah.
and all it cost you was 20 cents on the dollar because you're a consultant or whatever, and that's what you figured your time was, that's doing great.
Right.
But general consumers buying because you have an economy. It's the same
Right.
thing we have going on globally. That's the way I look at it. I'm not an educated economist or anything, but when I see more of my products and services being cash converted out into the general public, that's less that we have then.
Yeah.
When I have a client says, "I'll take all the John's Grill you have," because they go around and sell it for cash. Well, when Edward calls me and says, "I want to go to John's Grill," sorry, it's sold out. Because this guy over here jumped up and bought it on their cash converting. But here's what we thought about. So, and I think this is sound and it will work. Back to that model, they're giving us cash and we're giving nothing to the clients, right? So you see
Right.
where that just doesn't make sense?
Right.
But let's say you got a billiards table at your place, you got a used bike or a motorcycle. I want to open you up a personal account.
Oh, yeah.
And look, I have classifieds under one of our headings. Nothing's in there yet.
Okay.
But that's what that's going to be all about.
See,
is-
so,
Oh,
yeah, so
okay.
maybe you want to sell your bike, and it's,
Yeah.
where it's like Craigslist. It's sort of like a Craigslist.
Yeah, and that's something no one in this industry's ever done.
See, he's very
See,
creative.
that's
Okay.
I gotta
Yeah.
run, really.
Yeah,
Thanks.
let's-
Yeah.
we'll
Good to
work
meet you,
that
Brian.
out.
Okay.
We'll talk to you soon.
I'm gonna sit in the seat,
Raiders,
and
see
the
you
seat
later.
gonna leave, because I wanted to talk to you.
Okay.
Hey, see you later, buddy.
And, if you wanted to talk to Brian at all about doing the trade type thing with videoing,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's interesting because I'm glad I didn't call him. I almost sped dialed Kevin Kimura on my way up here because of he owns San Francisco television. He'll do videography and stuff, but he pretty much wants to go and do his videos for the hotel advertising. But then I come here and I meet you.
Yeah, he's an award-winning videographer, so I mean, you're dealing with someone who's got backbone.
Yeah, Edward was telling me, and then he showed me what about his building and da-da-da, and so forth, and I'm definitely interested. I have to find out how it all works.
It's pretty straightforward. I mean, the biggest problem we have with trade is when people use that barter word when they're selling the product, because immediately our subconscious trips our conscious, goes direct. I mean, there's almost like a
Yeah.
line diagram going off in someone's brain.
Yeah.
Because I always give, well, then what's a restaurant spend on? And what's he?
Yeah.
This is
And
indirect
then
trading.
he has to be careful. In fact, the trade organizations, because I did something accidental, even though I paid them their fee,
Mhm.
was there was a guy who wanted, he goes, "Oh, I'd like to stay specifically at your resort and give you some of our energy drinks."
Mhm.
Oh, great. But I reported it to them to pay the fee.
Mhm.
Because, right, if you and I just do something direct all the time, I mean, you and I know each other. I mean,
Right.
we did something before getting involved, but
Yeah.
let's say we didn't know each other and we had brought him in. If suddenly you and I go on the side and go, hey, listen, we don't need this guy anymore, let's do that.
Yep.
That cuts into his 5%.
Yeah.
And that's not fair.
And
And
you
so
get
these
kicked out
organizations,
eventually, yeah.
and you get kicked out. And so, you know, the IMS basically, this lady read me the Riot Act. And I said, listen, I wasn't trying to avoid the fee. I go, well, listen, I reported it, you know?
Well, that's
Yeah.
funny, because too, I won't say I'm not gonna bash my competitors, but there's a big difference when you're dealing with someone in their 20s who had, no, they didn't even listen to what you had to say. All they heard was direct trade.
Yeah, that's right.
You're calling to tell them that you just basically did this trade.
Yeah.
And I wanna pay for it.
So how,
That's hilarious.
I'd say as basically as you can.
Mhm.
Not, we don't even go to an elevator speech because that's too short. If you have the time.
Yeah, go ahead.
How does it work?
Simple.
Okay, just,
First of all, when you open up an account with us, you're gonna have a credit card that looks just like this.
Hey, you haven't got my credit card yet.
you don't mind if I borrow this?
You should have. It was mailed out.
Really?
Absolutely.
Maybe.
Yours came in I get these within 7 days.
You guys talk,
So-
I'm gonna double check.
So you get this card here, then you have an account. You have an account with us. So let's say back to here. This is actually a real deal. Stephanie Erickson, Marin Magazine. I'm gonna give her a call after you're a client and say, good news, we have somebody who wants to entertain your videographer needs through Pack Trade. Great, and I just put you two together. You guys meet as you normally would in the cash world. Normally, if we're in Marin, we'll all maybe have a meeting at Sailors or something. We put together a transaction, and now you're doing their videography, and you come up with your own pricing and.
Okay, so I join, I get my card,
Yep.
I don't, and then you put me together with them.
Correct.
Okay, now, and then she either can reject it or I can reject it, or whatever, we just talk.
Exactly. So she comes up with, let's say, because I know, I think, if I understand her right, it's about their dine out section in that magazine now, for their website, where they're actually gonna start doing the videography for their restaurants and their high-end retailers. So to me, it sounds like a retainer type of deal. So what we would do in that case is if we know we're gonna be doing so much work in a month or in a year, we're gonna bill it out on a retainer and lock that trade down. And that's a very good way. Instead of waiting once a month or once a deal for it to come through, then you've got the immediate trade and you can spend it, or use do monthly billing. At the end of the day, it's just like it's going through Wells Fargo, but it's going through us.
So, but,
Let me see if I can kind of
Yes.
make it, first of all, but I found a statement, but I never got a card. It doesn't matter, because as long as I know my account number, it doesn't really matter, right?
No, I mean, but that,
Slide it forward.
I wanna I just need to make a
Okay,
note,
so you know.
because you should have had your,
Okay, let's say, for example, you want to sign up for it, right? So what you do is, he'll find out what kind of services you provide, okay? You do videography, all right? So maybe there'll be somebody in the entire system. How many clients do you have?
we already have Marin Magazine needs videography.
Okay, so there's a perfect example, okay? So
or someone needs a website.
Or someone
I
needs a
don't know what
website,
it is.
okay. Well, whatever
Yeah.
the situation is, okay? You may get a call from Brian that says, hey, look, Marin Magazine needs such and such, and he may just give you the phone number and the person to contact, and you call and said, hey, yeah, I got Brian Capehart from Pacific Trade Exchange to talk about your job. And the person says, okay, I need this such and such done. And you look and you go, okay, well, that job I would bill that out at $2,000, I'll just pick a number, $2,000 job.
At my regular cost.
Yeah, what you regularly, if
It is.
someone said, if they just called you up out of the blue and
Yeah.
said, hey, how much will you charge me for such and such,
Yeah.
and you said $2,000, right?
Yeah.
And so what they would do, and then let's say they say that's fine, that's a good price. So they contact him and they'd say, you know what, we struck a deal, and what will happen is Marin Magazine gets charged $2,000. You get credited $2,000. You now have $2,000 in your account, and you do the work. You pay 5%, which is $100. They pay
Cheap.
to him. They pay $100. Okay, so and you do your work.
Yeah.
Right. Job's done. You now have $1,000 or $2,000 sitting in your account, and you suddenly you need your house painted. And you go, do I know a painter? I'm just picking, right? You call Brian. Hey, do we have any painters in the system? Yeah, you know what? There's a guy and he lives pretty close by to you. And I mean, you got to interview him to make sure that it's a decent painter. And let's say the job's $1,500 to paint your house.
That's
Right?
good. Okay.
You just trade. You just use $1,500,
Okay, $1,500
and you pay
and
your 5% for using the.
Okay. So do you have people that vacation rentals? Do you have people that ski vacation?
Yeah.
You have
I just booked one. Yeah, I have. You know what's funny is, and he'll tell. I'll be the first time. I have the smallest trade exchange around, man. But I have my clients do a lot of trade, and I have good stuff. So we have a little over 100 and some odd accounts. But I have a lot of, like, Edward's a perfect example. I have accounts that are spider webbed onto other things. So like at Lighthouse, the show.
I like spider ribs.
So one of my my best friends has a huge account with the Range-Free Vacation Club, which is like 70, 80 grand. So Sailors is now, they just booked a $5,600 ski vacation at Whistler Blackcomb for next year.
Oh.
Slopeside, ski in, ski out.
Oh, have you been there?
I've been in the middle of this deal.
I'm drooling, that's great.
Well, I've been in the middle of this deal now for about 6 weeks because we had to wait for a 1 year count because you can't book more than a year out. And I keep seeing this site and putting this thing together. I'm going to be going here probably in March with John. Yeah, because it's just
good.
Ski in, ski out. 4 bedrooms, up to a 4-bedroom suite.
So that's something a lot, yeah.
And that same club has Mexico, Europe.
Skiing's fantastic.
Yeah, you're a good skier too. Yeah, that's what you used to be.
I slow down a little bit.
Yeah, but you used to be on a ski team, or?
I was on the Olympic team.
Really?
Squad.
Squad.
Then they had a squad. They didn't call it a team. 57, 58, 59.
Nice.
To Squaw Valley. I hurt my ankle. But I still was there during the Olympics. It was great. It was fun.
We're sitting with a certified shredder right here.
Well, he's an award-winning videographer too.
Yeah. So what do you think of snowboards, man?
I've never tried it, and the reason why, I asked my very good friend who is a professional, and he said, don't do it. Too many people are breaking their wrist. And at this, I was like
Just don't fall
50
down.
then.
Yeah.
And don't fall down. Yeah, that would come. Don't fall down. So I never did it, and I wanted to, and I said, no, it's not worth it.
So I'll rephrase it. What do you think of snowboarders then when you're skiing? Because I remember the first few years, we were at war.
It's tough. There's some serious issues besides, I know they like to go fast and everything else, but it's very important, in my opinion, and that you wear a helmet.
Yep.
Okay, we know people that got killed in way back and got hurt. So it's very important. Well, you do get some kind of a blind side, and the snowboarders are very dangerous. They don't know it. I can't blame them, but it's a blind side with snowboarders because they go so fast and pull. And that was brought to my attention when I was in BC, and the gal that brought it to my attention was the woman of the century, who's won more medals in skiing than anybody else, Nancy Green.
Wow.
In Canada, I mean in the whole world, but she was the best in the world with medals. And I was blessed I was staying in her place about 5 years ago and skiing with her, and I said, how come you don't have a helmet? And she pointed this out. You know, she says, I didn't want to see around, and my helmet was kind of just enough.
Wow.
And usually when you're 20 to 30, your vision, and you have to have good vision and hand-eye coordination, you can see everything around you.
Yeah.
You can focus straight here, but I can tell you, you can see every flag. Then there was flags on the poles back in my day, but now they don't. So she doesn't wear one. I do. So I do a lot of looking around.
Yeah.
Me, I want to be in a
and I got to go slow. I got to remember. Your mind says that I'm 18 years old, and I needed to crank it around and say, no, you're 70.
Yeah.
You know, cool it.
Well, it's an interesting point though, the blind side, not just from the helmet, but how you ride. Because I skied for years and then started snowboarding,
Yeah.
but right, because we ride sideways, and so you,
Correct.
whichever way your back side, you've got a big blind because you never ride like this. I mean, we ride like, that's a very interesting point.
But you do some, I mean, it's a little bit of an angle.
A little bit,
I mean.
but not like
Yeah, you
skiing.
do it-
Skiing, where
yeah.
you know you're
It's completely different.
That's okay, I never thought about that.
Yeah.
you're head on.
And then they get, the snowboarders, there's a lot of hot dogging because there's on television it's hot dogging and now it's Olympic event and everything. So it's kind of like the internet, faster, faster, faster.
Yeah.
And I'm not at war with them. I know they're having fun.
Mhm.
I just don't like when I find one or two that don't give a damn.
Exactly.
And then it's like, I like to ride a bicycle on the street. I like to drive my car, but I don't want to be at war with anybody.
Right, exactly.
So I kind of.
Yeah, and snowboards, it was great when everybody started building snow parks. Because it kept,
Yeah.
it kept us, you know, if
Remember
you
that?
wanted to go get aggro, you
Yeah.
went to the snow park, you do all the jumps, everything you want to do. You know, I remember I broke my wrist when I first started snowboarding, I think, because.
There we go.
And I wear wrist protectors.
Yeah.
They're plastic shivs that go right here.
You know, what's interesting is, there are some places that skiers only here, snowboarders here.
Really?
Oh, I don't know if you come across it, yeah. And I'm trying to think where it was, but anyway, I ran across them and definitely, Squaw Valley, you can have snowboards, but they try to make the park jumps and everything else to centralize it there. But, you know, I was on some hill years ago, skiers only, here, and over here, they had a lift, whatever, because they could do this, was huge, and snowboarders. So that was a
interesting.
pretty good deal. I can't think of where it was.
You know, I used to trade a lot. You might have connections there. Is all the resorts up in Tahoe? Years ago, Heavenly, I used to do 20 grand a year, every year at clockwork with Heavenly, because they would give us 20 grand in lift tickets. They were getting 20 grand in Bay Area advertising.
Wow.
Man, if we could
Yeah,
put it.
so it's perfect, a lift ticket doesn't cost, it only costs them the opportunity cost if someone was gonna pay it anyway.
Exactly. Brother, I'll have you skiing for free all next year. If you can help me put this deal together, because what happens, they change, you know, all these owners and, you know, everybody, people buying each other up.
Yeah.
So our old marketing person, Bob Coyne, I think his name, Charlie Coyne, from Sports Byline, he used to be our guy. So he used to get all these tickets and we would do all the
Yeah.
media, but they're all gone now.
Yeah. Everything does change, doesn't it? Like, when I was roughly 20 years old, I went into Squaw Valley and said to the director, I said, I'll put your brochures in every store in Marin County, and you give me a free ticket, and you give me a ticket every time I come up here. And that worked for years, but then things change,
Mhm.
you know, and whatever, I don't know, I don't even know where they are now.
I had the kids go to the golf course and say, hey, listen, I'll pick up all the balls, you know, or all the baskets if you give me a coin to hit a bucket of balls. Real simple.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
No, you need to talk to me, and you need to talk to me.
Okay.
So.
I don't need to talk to you.
Oh, you don't? Okay. Okay. We were going to meet at Sailor's Landing at 2:30, but.
Yeah, so if you want to, I'm heading back over there, because I'm not doing the San Francisco traffic thing.
Yeah, no, I was
So,
just saying.
okay, then I'll make mine really simple. How do I do this? What do I do next?
You and I, we can go have lunch. You see, I like
Okay,
making
you know,
lunch
right.
appointments, man. Where are you? You're in San Rafael, right?
Yeah, I'm right down the street.
Oh, that's perfect. We can either
Are you in
meet
San Rafael?
in San Rafael, or I'll take you to lunch over at Sailors.
Where's
You know,
Sailors? What
You know,
is it?
it's in Guernica.
Where?
It used to be the old Guernica on Broadway.
No,
It's Sausalito.
Oh, Sausalito. Okay.
Bridgeway.
Bridgeway. What did I say? Broadway?
Yeah,
I meant
Bridgeway.
I meant Bridgeway.
And it
Do you know, it used to be Guernica.
Oh, is that what they used
that's
to
what
build
it used to be.
before after it was?
So,
What's
it's called Sailor's Landing. It's a restaurant. It's now a Mexican restaurant. It used to be-
Really high-end Mexican restaurant.
And how long have they been there?
Man, when
Well,
did they?
they've only been there for about 5 years. Before, they were like another part of Sausalito, and the food was fantastic.
It's
But it wasn't just
Landing.
Mexican, it was different.
Yeah.
So they moved over their building, or
Yeah,
wasn't
they
there
changed to
a
Mexican.
Margaritaville there somewhere or something?
It's close by. A little further down.
I asked Sean
Okay.
why they did that.
Yeah,
I asked, because it was your
food.
conversation that
Yeah.
brought it. I said, you know, I heard about Sailor's Landing. Why did you guys change this menu? And he points to Guillermo and Jorge. He goes, you know, all my employees are always Mexican, and they rock in the
Oh.
kitchen. I can do the Mexican
Yeah.
thing, and we didn't have one in Sausalito.
I will.
Brilliant.
I will.
Oh, wow.
And this is just a comparative thing. our Lighthouse restaurant, we just lease it out. We own it. We own it, but we lease it out. That is the best Mexican food I've ever had. I've eaten a lot of Mexican food. I mean, but because what he does is he goes and he gets Oaxacan, Yucatan, Estapa. I mean, he gets the whole variation. It comes from Mexico City, and I mean, it's phenomenal, phenomenal Mexican food.
And I keep trying to figure out how we're gonna sign that restaurant. I got organic tequila on trade now, wholesale,
Oh.
high end, 12 to 15 bucks a
yeah,
shot.
I'll,
So Sailors, so we hooked
how
up.
do we get together?
Yeah, in fact, we should do that. Let's, Sailors Restaurant on Bridgeway. I have your card with your email. You have my
Yeah.
card, correct?
Yes.
All right, perfect. So let's
Emails in there.
let's exchange email, and my schedule, as far as I know, is I had this oral, they're like dentists. We have a lot of dentists on trade.
You do?
So that's one thing I took advantage of.
You
and
do?
had-
See, there you see, like that. So
I wish you had mine, my oral guy, okay?
Oh, but you know what? I find when the price tags with dental, it doesn't matter. You don't even like your guy anymore. When you can get it on trade, and our dentists are good. I have oral
are they?
surgeons.
Where are they located? Are they all in the city or?
Yeah, I have, the one I recommend, do you need a dentist, or you need oral surgery?
Well, I am having oral surgery next week.
Oh, man, you should get in to see Dr. Lyford and have a second opinion.
Like,
It's in-
he's on the radio, isn't he?
Dr.
Yeah,
Lyford?
right.
Name sounds familiar, but I think it's something else.
No, but he's on,
See if you can get Marin. Get Marin stuff.
I'm trying to hire this kid over here to do nothing but develop Marin.
This guy I go to looks like sounds like a trader.
What's the name?
His name is Ira, I think Simmons or Sims. He's 3 days in Nevada and then 2 days in Corte Madera.
How much is it going to cost you?
Oh, at least 11 to 1,200.
And it's you don't have any like insurance for that stuff, so you
Well,
have
the
to pay
first
for it.
1,000 I do, and then I'm over with my insurance. So
No, but you have to pay for the first 1,000.
No, I'm free and clear of the first 1,000, and then after that's done, I usually have $1,000 worth of work, and then I just have my teeth cleaned regularly, no more.
No, but I mean you don't have insurance, so you'd have to physically
Yeah, I
come
do.
up.
I have dental.
Oh, you do.
But just I only get $1,000 through Kaiser through my wife.
Okay. So it's really only going to cost you $100.
No.
Where am I missing?
The first, I can go to the dentist for 1 year, and after I spend up my $1,000
Yeah.
dental, then I got to pay out of
Okay.
pocket.
Well, how much is all your dental going to be, including
Well,
this guy?
It's probably about, this would be $1,200. So I see what you're saying.
So you're only
I'll-
going to be out $200.
I'll be out $200,
Okay.
and then I won't have any. I went through this last time with him. I have so much work and then stop because it's not really that bad, but it's
Yeah.
protective.
Okay.
I mean, I want to keep my teeth, so
Sure.
I go.
But can you see how like if you didn't have your dental insurance, you'd go, okay, I'll do
Oh,
this
well,
video
what
for
I
that.
do next would I would trade for just have my teeth clean because I switch back and
Mhm.
forth to a periodontist and a regular DDS.
Sure.
Periodontist can really clean your teeth better. They don't have to
Yeah.
do deep rooting, but they know better.
Gums and stuff. Sure. Who's your perio?
Periodontist?
Yeah.
This guy I was telling you.
Same guy, Ira?
Yeah, Ira. Can't remember his last
But
name.
he's not an oral surgeon.
Yeah.
He's a
Yeah.
periodontist and an oral surgeon? Those are two different things.
Periodontals.
Yeah, periodontist.
It's oral surgery.
Oh, for gums specifically.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
yeah.
thinking, okay, periodontist or gums specifically.
Man, I just went through a whole
Yeah.
mouth of it.
Oh, that's right, you did.
$9,000.
All trade, right?
So I think it's, I ought to mention this guy because he seems like the type of guy might.
No,
do
it'd
that.
be
He
perfect.
really does for some reason.
Dentists, I have a dentist, and I can always use another one. Dentists love trade because, man, they've got their office staff there, their dental assistant, they gotta pay anyway, and if they can both be in someone's mouth.
Yeah, I gotta hook you. I used to specialize with dentists.
Oh, really?
I had them almost all of them were in.
Yeah, 'cause I'm signing another one that lives here, but he has his office over in the city as well, at the medical building on Post.
What's his name?
Parrott, Dr. Parrott, he's been my dentist for years.
Yeah. That's the problem.
Well,
I specialized with them in the 80s and then early 90s, and then I kind of stopped. So.
I'll tell you something funny, whether it's true or not, but in 1980, I was doing research with a couple other people, and I was general manager of what do they call it, a hideaway in Colorado, and it was built at 10,500 feet, and it was a ski resort. It was deeded land right in the middle of 500,000 acres of national forest.
Oh, wow.
So we got a permit to run snowmobiles,
and run snowcats. So it was a hideaway. So people would come, there'd be no telephones, no nothing, they just wanted to get away. And so, so I was doing research on like, who do I market? It was the dentist because they had the highest suicide rate at that
Yes.
particular time because they're, I don't know,
Yeah, giving pain and all
so
those-
we marketed him, and we got him. We got the dentist there, and then we had a lot of people, like we had the head of the army, I forget who the hell he was, but then we had Callaway Gardner, Bill Callaway, and Presley, what's your first name? Priscilla Presley. and-
Oh, yeah.
So we and Fred Smith, who has Federal Express.
Oh.
In fact, he almost came and bought the place.
Wow.
Because it was so, he figured he could bring in his guys and train them, and it'd be so quiet, secluded, and then
Yeah.
he'd take them out for snowmobile riding and then downhill skiing and cross-country skiing. I wish he did. No, I don't. I like my life where I went now. But
That's good.
it was really, that just brought me back. Sorry, I just drifted off.
Yeah,
that
I know how it
That was
is.
interesting.
Well, I'll tell you what, you guys have each other's numbers, so
Yep.
you'll be
Yeah.
in touch. You and I want to talk for a bit, so let me walk
Yeah.
him out to the elevator.
Yeah, and I'll do this. Yeah, I need to talk about that. Your show.
Yes.
Not your show. Your Lighthouse.
So you like to go by Kramer?
Thing. Yeah.
Okay.
That's actually my middle name. But yes.
So my schedule is pretty much open for next week.
Okay, I have to look at mine.
Mm-hmm.
Monday I know is a no.
But we can, we'll just exchange
see.
emails and we'll set it up.
Yeah, emails are good.
And because typically we charge like $500 application fee, which is almost half what my clients charge, my competitor. But I'm not gonna charge you anything. Sign up.
Okay.
I'll give you that for free.
Usually $5,000 application fee.
Oh, let's see
And when you're just one quick question when you're ready.
Pallets of TVs coming to me from China. I'll have all the information on Monday.
Huh?
Yeah,
Like any
24.
TV?
Yeah, they're 26 inch.